Tonight, we review the latest episodes of Star Trek Discovery and The Mandalorian, and more tonight on The Real Super Geeks.
We almost didn't do the enemy opener.
We're not the fake Super Geeks, just so you know. Welcome. It's November 27th, Friday, the day after Thanksgiving here in the United States of America. And welcome to my fellow Super Geeks as we review this week's Super Geeky news. So let's check in. I'm Carlos Pedraza. Let's check in with the rest of the hosts and then get right into what has been, I think, one of the most polarizing episodes of Star Trek Discovery I can imagine, as well as one of the most illuminating episodes of The Mandalorian that I can imagine.
Aside from the series itself.
Yeah, exactly. Even above and beyond the series itself. So let's start with it's a holiday weekend, so I think we're a couple of ducks shy of a pond. So we're going to start with Ensign Beard Fasse, aka Jason Kovalik. How was your Thanksgiving, Jason?
Oh, I am fat and happy.
Oh, wow. Okay. Just don't call me that, you bitch. Show America and the world your awesome, there you go, your awesome Christmas sweater. It's lovely. Thank you. And you've heard his mellifluous voice already, but we like to call him the Eyebrows of Doom, Ross Bullock. How are you, Ross? How was your Thanksgiving?
Doing very well. Thanksgiving was subdued. The lady kitchen, so she was busy for most of it. So we're saving our actual dinner later this week. And kitty cat.
Oh,
say hi,
cat.
Say hi.
Appeared out of nowhere. Must be one of them newfangled personal transporters. And of course, stalwart producer Justin Burton. How are you this week, Justin? How was your Thanksgiving?
It was pretty good, and pretty much just fat and happy like everybody else today.
Those seem to be the two operative words for the week, indeed. And our recovering mascot, Index, but right now we call her Sun Seal, is joining us this week. Sun, how are you, and how was your Thanksgiving?
Well, did we put the spoiler warning up?
Not yet, but we will as soon as we dive into the episode.
I should probably.
Because
spoiler alert!
Was that better?
There you go.
Okay, so
this has something to do with your avatar, I imagine.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, gotcha. So folks at home, beware.
That face you make when you realize you've been groomed all season.
Okay.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah. They don't call her Killy for nothing. Thank you. Send complaints. Okay, and let's see. And certainly last but certainly not least, joining us from his what should we call it? Your winter White House in Spokane, Washington.
Just
the family house for Thanksgiving.
A bigger desk than the president has, apparently.
Is Travis Thrash Linton. You know him as one of the intrepid admins of Facebook's largest Star Trek group. We know him as the father of Lane. And hello, Lane. And he will be joining us only for a short while today because family, but we want to hear his opinions about as much as we can squeeze in before he has to leave. Travis, how was your Thanksgiving, and how are you?
Well, we had a very lovely Thanksgiving. For the first time in years, I said grace out loud, so that was quite the experience. And we had it was very nice. And my grandmother is worried that I didn't eat enough. So
well, but
then again, she's always worried.
That is their job.
That I love it. I can assure her that I ate plenty, and apparently so did Ensign Beard Fasse and Justin, and who else ate plenty? Ross hasn't even eaten yet, so your grandmother should be worried about Ross.
Okay, yeah.
Well, there you go.
Okay, so I think we've hit everyone. So why don't we jump in, because this was quite an episode this week of Star Trek Discovery. The name of the episode was Unification 3. And of course, we have been wondering about it since it was first announced weeks ago about how it was going to tie into the first two Unification episodes, which of course were a two-part episode of Star Trek The Next Generation, which featured Ambassador Spock in his first appearance in The Next Generation, and in which he was engaged in cowboy diplomacy to try to reunite the Vulcans and the Romulans. And he said in that episode that it could take centuries, but it would almost inevitably happen. And here we are in the 32nd century, and it did. And so we're going to see what some of those ramifications were, and how Michael Burnham's sister Spock seems to fit or not fit into all of this. So let's do a quick round robin with everyone and just kind of get everyone's general impressions. Did you like the episode? What did you like? What did you hate? Let's start with, because I always love her contrarian self, Index / Sunseal. Sun.
Okay, so this
that
episode
sigh says it all, doesn't
That
it?
sigh says
this
it all.
episode is all over the board for me. This is like, because it's like, hi, I was right. Just let's get that out of the way. It's like all this writing for the whole fucking season has been, hey, Tilly's going to be the new XO, and here it is.
Here it is.
She's the new temporary XO.
Yeah, she's an acting temp XO.
Sure, but look at everything that has been written for her the whole fucking season. She's become the heart of the crew. She's become the one to like take charge and like try and get shit done I mean, like, she wasn't even in any sort of command when they were refitting the ship. Yet there she was in spore drive engineering, giving orders to people who outranked her.
Yep. She's amazing.
She's also the only person next to Stamets who knows anything about the spore drive.
Correct.
So this whole thing has been this has been a weird episode, because this not only is this the bad kind of Burnham, it's also the right kind of Burnham in the same fucking episode.
Okay. Wait. Okay. I want to hear more about that when we get into more detail, but I love that you had to say that. Quick last question. So are you pro Tilly as the XO, or anti-Tilly, or completely throwing your hands up in the air going, what's happening?
I take the Doctor Who stance at this point. I'm willing to give her a shot.
Okay. I think that's pretty good. All right. Since I know you're tired and may not be with us for very long, Travis, you get to go next. And of course, Lane too.
Yes, I was actually about to say, they're watching Christmas Story now, so I will probably say what I need to say, and then I will probably check out, unfortunately. But
okay. Well, yeah, because you don't want to shoot your eye out.
All right, so I'm not saying it. I personally really enjoyed this episode in ways that I've enjoyed. Let me try this again. This is probably the best Discovery episode I've seen. And I know I said that about episode 5, but I mean, watching this again, I actually, not too long ago, ranked my personal top 10 moments of Discovery, like the best scenes, the moments that really, really screamed out at me. And this episode topped it, like topped the list. I didn't realize that there would be a moment where I would say, you know what? Captain Pike's revelation in Through the Shadows would be topped, but I honestly really enjoyed the conclusion of the trial that Michael Burnham goes through. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but
I think.
Yeah, the way that ended, I was floored. I very much thought like that was some of the best development I've seen of the character so far. And once again, like, I see way too many like complaints about, oh, I'm so sick of Burnham being the character we're always focusing on. Like, I can't, like, I get that there is some legit criticism to be had there, but I mean, I feel like so much of it is just so shallow to the point where I have to tune it out now. I have to tune it out. Because I mean, I thought that the development in this episode was brilliant around that character, and I also can't help but tune out a lot of the criticism that I see certain fans like, oh, a real captain wouldn't promote this person to this, or oh, this character would never do this, or this character's acting stupid, or whatnot. It's just like, look, this might be the writer in me talking, but I do very much believe in letting the writers tell the story they want to tell and have the characters develop in the way they feel they are best developed. And just like, I feel like since Saru is indeed a learning, like he's very new as a captain and he's still learning the ropes. I mean, if we think about it, he was first captain maybe less than a year ago in terms of the show's timeline. Because, or a year or less, one of the two.
Yeah,
but,
around then, probably.
And just like, if you're just thrown into the captain's seat like that, you're going to make some mistakes. You're going to make choices that are not exactly by the book. And, well, I just think it fits the character. Hook, line, and sinker. And he's still one of the characters that I'm just endlessly immersed by, and I can't wait to see what mistakes he might make or what like surprises he might pull. On the reunification aspect of this episode, I've always let my imagination run wild with what the reunification of Romulans and Vulcans might be like. And seeing what they did in this episode, I was just like, I was very much like, just very much the giddy schoolboy. And because, I mean, like, just changing the name from Vulcan to Navarre, I thought was really clever. I thought it was very fitting that they would make it more fitting for both the Romulans and Vulcans. I mean, if Romulans just lived on Vulcan, I feel like that would just be like kind of like brushing the Romulan culture aside. So renaming the planet like that, taking that risk, I thought was actually a really gutsy move, and I thought it paid off really well. And seeing, the Romulan, the inner strife that still existed centuries later, was also really well done. And oh man, like I haven't even touched the fan service of this episode. There's just so much that just had me smiling throughout this entire hour, and you could probably hear the family quoting the movies.
Mm-hmm.
So I will try and wrap this up as quickly as I can. If I were to give a round robin score, this is definitely a solid 9.5, maybe even a 10 out of me. I don't give those out. I don't give those out often. This one really got to me in all the right ways, and I may, like, on a rewatch, it might go back down to a 9.5, but I do stick to the assertion that this is the strongest episode of Discovery by far. I don't know what is going to top this new moment that I have at the top of my Discovery moments list now. I'm glad that I saw it. Like, I'm glad that season 2 has been topped in that area. But yeah, I'm very, like, I had a lot of expectations for this episode based on the title alone, and seeing it live up in the ways that it did was just, I'm really happy. To me, it's a solid hit. Solid. And I'm not going to touch on Robert Meyer Burnett. I'm not.
We'll probably wait till you're gone, but we will be talking about that. Okay, thank you. All right, let's head over. Oh, were you going to add something else, Travis?
I was just, like, before I tag on out of here, I was just going to go ahead and say that I didn't get a chance to finish the Mandalorian episode. but I very much was also very much enjoying it. I'm sorry I won't be able to see Ross's geek out here. I'm pretty sure you're going to be geeking out, Ross. Don't lie. Don't lie, Ross.
Yes. Hang on to your hats, folks at home.
Yeah, it's going to be a wild ride.
But from what I saw, I was very much enjoying it. I have like 15 minutes left to watch, and I'm sure it's just as great. So
get to
unless,
Travis and Lane.
Yeah. All right, you guys have a great show. I'm going to stop torturing my family with monotone geek talk, and I will see you all next week.
All right. Thank you.
Nice
Justin.
try, Justin.
Thank you, Travis. And of course, thank you, Lane. Okay, let's hear from the Eyebrows of Doom.
Yeah, I love you too, Greg.
Boy. So I've been looking forward to this since we first learned that the episode that we first learned about the episode title. There are a lot of implications. We knew a lot was going to change in between Discovery leaving the 23rd century and arriving in the 32nd. And imagining how they would react to those changes really excited me. So when the Admiral first mentioned Navarre, that threw me for a loop. That the fact that they changed the name. Second, that the Romulans now inhabit the planet with the Vulcans is immense. Oddly enough, they never once mentioned that Romulus was destroyed in this episode. So I'm wondering if they're saving that for later, or if they just thought it wasn't relevant. I don't know why. It would have been interesting, but to see Burnham's
taken for granted by this point,
maybe to see Burnham and Saru's expressions when they find out that the Romulans, who were historical foes going back centuries, were once Vulcans. Just the way her eyes lit up when she found out about that, and of course, learning about how Spock played a pivotal role in that unification. The awe and joy and pride that she had for her brother in that moment was amazing to see. There were so many fun, interesting, and different bits of fan service throughout this episode. We got to see the Quat Malat again. We got two major tie-ins to Picard, more concretely cementing these two shows as canon and existing within the same universe. Suck it the fuck up, haters. Oh, there was so much to love in this episode, but I'll get into some of my criticisms later because I actually do have them this time. But I loved the insight we got into Romulans of the time, the insight we got into Vulcans, and a little bit of extra Vulcan culture that we get so very little of that fits in so well. You can absolutely see the sort of thing happening on a regular basis on Vulcan. And I can only imagine how it would work out with Romulans now in the mix. There was so much fun with this episode. I was almost in awe the entire time.
All right. Okay, let's thank you, Ross. Let's head over to Ensign Beard Fasse. Jason, what did you think of the episode?
I don't like ranking individual episodes because they're always subject to what comes later. Last week, I gave last week's episode 7.5, but the reality is for a lot of reasons in this episode, it elevated the score of last week's episode. Last week's episode was made better because of the events that happened in this week's episode.
Tell me a little bit about that.
We couldn't have gotten this episode without Burnham going rogue, without all that stuff. You would have had the Federation Admiral being more amenable to indulging Burnham and the Discovery on finding the solution of the burn. You wouldn't get to Burnham's facing her own sort of internal indecisiveness if she didn't have last week's episode. It's just one of those things where there's a reason you don't rate chapters of a book, if that makes sense.
That makes sense.
You have to take it as a whole. I really did enjoy this episode. I thought that I really did enjoy Burnham's kind of path of self-discovery. Obviously, her mom being there was a little too convenient, if that makes sense. But obviously there's other things, there's lots of conveniences that happen in Star Trek that are unbelievable, like the Enterprise D finding Scotty on the Dyson sphere and that sort of stuff. It's just all kind of like, coincidence.
That's TV for you.
Yeah. But no, I mean, it was very enjoyable. It was it was very much more of like a TNG style Trek, which we haven't gotten in a long time. Even Picard, like it was more TNG than I think, but it was a very good, well-rounded episode, and we got 3 Spocks. So
3 Spocks, that's right.
It's true.
Okay, and Stalwart Justin, how do you weigh in?
All right. Well, I thought it was overall good episode, and like Jason, it actually makes last week's episode better. So maybe we ought to start taking that into account. I guess whenever we do our grading system, it does elevate the previous week a bit. The biggest thing I've seen everybody complain about is the whole Tilly promotion. Okay, look, this is not the first time this has happened in Star Trek. Look what happened with Kirk in the 2009 movie. He went from cadet to first officer to captain. Pretty much, within the first act. And you've had other instances. We had cadets of Red Squad, DS9 that had command. You had Nog getting promoted, field commission to an ensign in DS9. He didn't even graduate the academy. They just field promoted him right there on the spot. So, I mean, it's not unheard of for something like that.
2009.
Yes, like I said, it's not unheard of. So, calm the hell down. It'll be okay. Yes, it's a little out there, but it's Star Trek. It happens. It'll be okay. It'll work out.
It's acting first officer.
Yes, it is acting first officer, and we'll talk more about what we think that means in a little bit. But
yes.
Go ahead, Justin. What else do you have to say about that?
Other than that, the whole reunification bit, I loved it. It was everything that we were hoping it would be. I wish we gotten a little bit more, especially on the Romulus bit. So maybe they'll save that for later. We kind of think they would try to throw that in there because the whole Romulus blowing up has been kind of a anchor point.
Well, that's true, but from their point of view, that was 800 years ago. So
but yeah. True.
And it really wasn't something that they were really. I mean, at that point, it had been 100 years since the last communication with Romulus. So I think at that, when they left, Romulus was more mythos than anything. This was 8 years before Balance of Terror.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to save my reactions for, as we go through some of the topics as we go through. Other than to say in a very general way, I love this episode. I can recognize why it is so controversial, and I'm looking forward to what, we all have to say about those points of controversy as they occurred through the episode. So let's launch.
Oh, hey, Carl, before you go, and I want to compliment you on your new setup. You are really popping now.
Thank you. Yes, I got a new.
Really, really good.
Thank you very much.
You might want to think about some foundation, though.
I actually have some, so I just don't have time today.
No, but that camera is beautiful.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah. Well, thank you. It's if I can do my 10-second Apple commercial, one of the new M1 Max is what I bought, and that's what we have to thank for my camera and bandwidth looking as well as it does this week. So thank you. Okay, so let's jump in. Probably the biggest thing and the biggest plot point in this episode, and thank you, not sponsored. And also, which has also been a point of contention amongst a lot of people who did not like the episode, is Spock, the role of Spock. And the episode obviously, portrays him as this now sort of revered historical figure because, he would have been revered no matter what anyway. But the fact that he was the one who really led the way at the beginning of the reunification of the Vulcans and the Romulans is something that, you know, even almost 1,000 years later holds sway with these folks. And the fact that Michael Burnham was his sister was able to get at least the attention of the, I guess we call them Navarians now.
No, it's still Vulcans and Romulans.
Well, whatever we call them, it got their attention enough to at least, you know, show up to say, no, we're not going to help you, until she, you know, called them on it. But it was cool to find out that that the unification happened, and to see that even 800 years on, it's still something of a bumpy road for these folks. But that still Spock, you know, played a central role in that. How well do you all figure that the role of Spock was, you know, teed up in this episode? You know, the episode, I mean, some of the characters even went so far as to call out, you know, Michael Burnham's attempt to use Spock, her connection to Spock, to try to further what they saw as her personal agenda here. How well did that all work for you guys? Sun, let's start with you. Oh, wait, Sun is going to be back in a second. Let's go to Jason.
Well, you know, I mean, if you've got to use it, right? Like, I mean, the idea that somehow utilizing Spock's legacy to forward her own agenda, I mean, it's ridiculous anyone would think that someone would do otherwise. You know, of course she's going to use that legacy to, you know, help forward the, you know, the Federation agenda. And that's part of why the Navarians didn't trust her. And we see that play out. But we also see, you know, the ending play out the way it did. Like the idea that, like, and you know, I've seen a lot of controversy, a lot of people making comments about, like, you know, them making comment about how her role and who Spock became. You know, yeah, I mean, like, I get it. If you're a longtime, you know, those old scientist fans and the fans of the those old scientist movies, and you love Spock, you know, I get why people would feel that that, you know, making Burnham part of who Spock became kind of cheapens that character. But I call bullshit on that, because the people who are around us impact who we are. Right?
Exactly.
So Spock isn't just Spock because he's Spock. He's Spock because he's the son of Sarek, the son of Amanda, the brother of Sybok and Michael Burnham, and his
except for the Sybok part, I totally agree with you.
Carlos, give me your pain.
He doesn't exist.
Feel
he doesn't exist.
Pain.
He doesn't
Sybok
exist.
exists just as much as midi-chlorians do, Carlos.
Yeah. And I have an issue with them too.
You know, and so I actually really do enjoy it. I like the idea that, you know, yeah, the people we are around shape us and make us part of who we are, and they're as much part of us as we are of them. And I think the same thing is now in place for Burnham and Spock. And anyone who wants to say otherwise, you know, just has their panties in a twist and needs to get over it.
All right. Anyone else here have their panties in a twist? Or how did the Michael Burnham Spock thing work for you in this episode? Son, are you back? You want to chime in on this one?
I take the. It's complicated, really, because I can see the arguments, and I can see the counter arguments, and I for some strange reason I sit squarely in the middle, which, hello, the contrarian, I guess. I look at this as kind of a, with the merger of Viacom and CBS, you kind of have this final collapsing in the connection between all three Spocks. And that's what I take away from it more than anything. That this is the through line that connects all the Spocks together.
Mm-hmm.
And the way it was handled is more true to, like Jason said, true to being a person than anything. Because, we are the sum of our experiences and those who have influenced us and those who we will in turn influence.
All right. Very good. Ross, how about you?
I think they did a really good job of showing the different aspects of Spock being invoked in this episode. Starfleet and Michael, of course, were trying to exploit that connection in order to get what they wanted. The Vulcans and Romulan in high regard. And then, of course, you had Spock's own words talking or giving voice to what he saw the eventual fate of Vulcans and Romulans could and should be. And I think they did a really good job of highlighting each of those and even calling each other out on using them both as a reverential figure, an influential figure, and of course leverage. So I was pretty pleased with it, I think.
Okay. And enough with him. I don't need your pain, Cybok.
He doesn't need he wants your pain. You don't need
his. He can't have it. He can't have it. It's all mine.
Actually, hold on. Now we got this comment that we're going on here. Okay, sorry, Greg, but she is.
Yeah.
I don't.
We had two seasons of that.
I mean, Greg, I respect your opinion on so many things, but this is the reality of it, and you may not like it.
She was legally adopted by Sarek and Amanda.
Yeah, they consider
that does
her
make her a sister.
Yeah. That's like saying that anyone who's adopted is not a real sibling, and that's just really insensitive. But from a story perspective, the fact is they accepted her as a part of their family, so that's kind of the way you have to accept it too. If you must,
that means you have to accept
Cybok. Except we have no evidence of that with Cybok.
We do. We have Star Trek V.
Yep.
Yeah,
The Final Frontier.
We have the William Shatner directed.
It's canon.
It had Vulcan princesses, for Christ's sake, people.
It's
Vulcans
still,
don't have princesses.
How do you know?
It's still light years better than Star Trek Nemesis.
This is
Both have a very long and proud traditional history. There might be ancient lineages of long forgotten royalty that held true. They don't have influence, but they are still there.
Royalty
like many other royal
logical
in this world.
Okay,
Hawaii
let's head over
has
to
a
Justin.
royal family, for God's sake. Come on,
Justin.
Yes.
It's your turn to weigh in on how well you feel the Spock Michael Burnham connection was portrayed in this episode.
Well, I mean, I've seen the complaints about that, and I think they're silly because why wouldn't you exploit that as a channel of communication? Be like, it would not make sense not to. It's silly to even think anyone would do that. I've also seen people complain that Captain Carr didn't get his
his what?
That Carr didn't get his equal credit for the reunification. What, as far as anyone knows, the only thing Picard did was he was there for the first part of unification. Other than that, it hasn't been made part of canon one way or other. What Picard did after the fact, books don't count.
Well, other than his putting his own career on the line for the Romulans, but
yeah,
which is important, but it had little to do with what this episode was about. So the fact that it wasn't mentioned, I didn't.
It don't matter.
Yeah. So from my perspective, I feel like, at the risk of belaboring the point so many of the others of you have made, to not have made use of the fact that Michael Burnham was Spock's sister would have been criminal to ignore it in a situation like this. And the reality is that it would have taken something like that, like this historical figure literally reappearing in the future to get the Vulcans and the Romulans to even want to pay attention. Even if they thought they were going to say no, they couldn't not listen to Spock's sister. So I thought it was a natural progression in the story, and I thought they handled it really well. They did not fall at her feet, in a frenzy of self-abasement. They were skeptical of her. They, they went through essentially a trial in which they tried to eviscerate her credibility and forced her to come to terms with her own issues. I think that's the kind of thing you want to see in a drama. You don't want, the people who complain about her being space Jesus somehow because she goes in and makes everything better apparently didn't watch the episode, because she was not space Jesus. She was a flawed human being whose flaws were made.
And he had Space Jesus, and that was Cyborg.
Yeah, and look how well he went over. So, exactly. Apparently that runs in the Sarek family. But yeah, I mean...
They're all Space Jesuses.
How many can there be, right? Yeah,
Sarek,
so...
Zybox, Spock, Michael...
I think, if anything, what we're seeing here is lots of Burnham's faults and flaws. That is not the definition of a space Jesus. So you can't, these critics can't have it both ways. They can't talk about her being a Mary Sue on the one hand and then complain on the other about how she's so emotional, how she's so flawed, and so many things are wrong with her. It's like you can't have both. Choose one and then base your critique on that.
They're complaining just to complain at this point.
Yeah, I think they're trying to, to force fit what they're seeing, unfold on Discovery into their preconceived notions, like the fact that they simply don't like the fact that, that a woman, a Black woman, played this important role in the history of Star Trek, even if it's retconned. I mean, especially if it's retconned.
I think that's some of it. I think that's some of it.
Yeah, I don't think it explains everything. Nothing explains everything. But yeah, it's some of it, I think.
Well, like Adam points out, this is a problem we constantly see with Burnham. Even when Burnham fails, she still somehow gets exactly what she wants.
Well, yeah, but come on. Let's look at Spock. When you talk about a space Jesus, he was a space Jesus.
He died and rose again.
I have the same issues with Spock.
Who does? Adam does?
No, I do.
Oh, you do. Well, okay, but
then again, I'm the contrarian, aren't I?
You're the contrarian. Like the most of these people who are complaining about this are people who who think somehow that Burnham is being treated special and different from the way these other characters traditionally have been dealt with, other main characters in Star Trek, and that's simply not the case. I mean, Kirk and Spock, both of them were rarely flawed. Occasionally flaws would show up, but they always got what they wanted in the end. That didn't seem to be a problem. Same with Picard. That didn't seem to be a problem. It's only now that it's a problem because, that it's a woman and they don't like the way she's messing up with the way they had things, set up in their heads for half a century. So
it hurts their head canon and they can't stand it.
Well, I mean, to be fair, though, we are also in a different era of television now, where it's okay to see the main character lose, right? I mean, that's not something that happened. Kirk, short of the fact that Kirk ever lost, right? I mean, Well,
that's true, but Jason, the people who are complaining about this are not people who are advocates of modern television. They're people who are reactionaries over, decades old television. The most modern for them is the 90s. That was 30 years ago.
No, I mean, I'm not disagreeing with that. What all I'm saying though is that letting Burnham not get what she wants would make for compelling television. Just like not letting Kirk always have what he wanted made for compelling television. Would have made for compelling.
Wait a minute, did I just? Hi guys, how are you?
Oh look, Sean, you joined us.
I woke up.
Sean,
Let's see your Trek shirt. Sit there, Sean.
Wait, did you guys both buy your shirts at the same store? What the hell is going on here? and more importantly, why wasn't I invited, you bitches?
I think it's just coincidence. In fact, what's really funny about this is that I bought this shirt over a year ago, and Hayden told me the best Star Trek joke ever this morning. He says to me, why won't Santa join the crew of the USS Enterprise? And I said, why not? He goes, because he'll die because he's a red shirt, duh. And so by pure coincidence, I went up to get to find a Star Trek / holiday T-shirt. I threw this on, and then I read the bottom of it, and it's got the same joke at the very bottom of it.
Oh, yep, there it
And,
is.
and I didn't even realize that. It's like I've had this shirt for over a year, and I didn't even realize that joke was on it. So there you go.
All right, so let's get to the important questions of the day, Sean. Namely, are you wearing pants?
I am, but only momentarily. In fact, they're coming on. I think they're going to come off right now, live, folks, live in studio.
Okay, so while you're doing that, to distract the folks at home from
in the rough
terrible thing that's happening, we were talking about how the whole Michael Burnham Spock thing was portrayed in this episode. There have been a lot of complaints about it. Most of us so far have really liked it. What did you think?
I loved it. The only problem I have, it was almost exactly what Jason was talking about here. My issue at the end was not an episode of Burnham, but an episode of storytelling. And that is that I think it would have made for compelling storytelling if she had not gotten what she wanted. If it had to be something that was earned down the road by perhaps more from her and more from Saru. I love the fact that she, I know they set it up when they said, they're not the only audience. I get that the audience actually was the president of Navarre. It is Navarre, right? Am I saying that?
Yeah,
okay.
Navarre.
Okay, so
is that Grogu?
What?
Yeah,
Grogu.
I'm calling him Greg, by the way. He's not Grogu. He's Greg. Okay, so
I like Greg better.
It rolls off the tongue, but easier. Okay, so I get that, but I it just like it seemed very much the way they wrapped it up with. She went through all that. They told her to bounce. And actually, better than this, you're telling her to bounce. She did what I think she did more to develop her character in one episode than they have in 3 seasons, where she acknowledged her own faults and flaws and really did some serious introspection. And it was almost like I said, she didn't attend the Thanksgiving dinner the rest of the crew did. She didn't have that therapy session, if you will. And she really was forced to be introspective and address her own issues in this episode, which I thought was fantastic for the character. I just didn't like how they very neatly wrapped up. Oh, well, you went through all that, and even though you said, you know what? I'm not even gonna try it with you people anymore. It's not something that I'm gonna try to force you to do, and let it be at that. And let them earn it back another way. She winds up getting what she wanted anyway. And I'm not saying that's not a problem with the character, because at the end of the day, the crew of Discovery got what they wanted. I think that's just a problem with wrapping it up and making it too sunshine and lollipops. I would have liked it if there were some actual consequences to her big moment there. I kind of think it took away.
Well, I think there will be, don't you? Here's my only point of disagreement with you on what you just said. If we were talking about a 22 episode season, I'd say great, but we're not. We're talking about we're now more than halfway through.
That's the one kink in my right, and I agree.
And I don't want to wait for that. I'd rather they get to the point.
Right. That's the one kink in my theory here. Had this episode taken place in episode 4 as opposed to episode 7, then I think my complaint would have.
Or if they had a 15 episode season or 16.
Or if they had a longer season.
Sure.
Correct. Right. Because then we can have some time along the way for them to work that storyline of everyone trying to work together to convince the Vulcans to get on board here, or the Vulcan/Romulans. So I agree with you on that, Carlos, entirely. That's the only problem with my premise, is that we just don't have time.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like, Burnham getting what she wanted at the end was earned. I mean, a lot of the people who are complaining, I think, feel like it was unearned, but it was earned because she gave up what she wanted. Like, from her point of view, she saw the greater good, and what she thought was the greater good, which was the Federation, was not. She essentially admitted to them the greater good is the fact that you deserve to be at peace in the way that you need to be at peace, and I'm not going to add your cultural conflict to my to-do list for saving the universe.
Can we talk about how Mr. Starfleet has suddenly become a Federation admiral?
Who's that?
The Admiral.
Admiral Vance.
I don't
Yeah.
see him as being the Badmiral.
I don't see him as a bad.
Literally, last episode he was talking about how Burnham was like this horrible person for the things that she did, and this episode he's like, "You're our only hope. Go shoot."
He didn't say that she's a horrible person. He said that she made some very bad decisions that ended up with a good result.
Yeah, it was actually interesting. I thought in the last episode, because son, I think you're just forgetting about this part, is that he's basically like, his response to her was like, you like exactly what Ross said, but at the same time he kind of bitch slapped Saru,
yeah,
for not bringing it to him to begin with. And in recognizing that, yeah, we really need this. This is important. So and him sending her off this time. I think this was one of those. Hey, look, we're going to be new. Yeah,
she didn't want to be the face of the Federation, especially in the wake of her mistake.
Right.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Like, even she's telling the Admiral, this is shit that shouldn't go down in the Federation.
Well, think about it from the Admiral's perspective. A, he knows the importance of this data if he can get it. 2, there's the potential of reopening diplomatic. What the hell is that?
Somebody doing lines? Eric, is Alec Peters in the room? Alec Peters in the room?
That's Ensign Beardful say, what the hell are you doing? Oh, he just muted himself.
I was clearing off my mouse pad.
Oh, that's the loudest mouse pad I've ever heard.
Regaining my train of thought.
Go ahead. Hit you.
Mute him, Justin.
When you're ready.
Go ahead, Ross.
Okay, so they know they need this data. They know it's important to heal the wounds of the Federation and try and reunite the family. 2, this is the potential to reopen diplomatic relations with a founding member of the Federation, the Vulcans. Starfleet, human, Earth, and Vulcan were the axis that the Federation revolved around since its inception.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, with the potential for bringing them back, considering the Andorians are now a foe, is a huge political and ideological win that he knows they need.
Yeah, I think if anything, Vance is a pragmatist.
Yes, I agree. Right.
He is not an ideologue. He is not a dogmatic person. He is a pragmatist. I mean, that's the whole point why he is the admiral that he is because he does triage. And triage is about having to make decisions based on priority, not necessarily on principle.
Yeah, he's very much, if you see from the beginning, he's all about being a manager of chaos is what he does. He manages chaos around him. And I get this sense from him that there's a sadness about him that, as he's doing this, there's a sadness about the fact that Starfleet is no longer what it was, that the Federation is no longer what it was, that the Vulcans are no longer part of this community, this family. It's under the surface. It's not like out there, like all emotional. He's very stoic about it, but it's like kind of under the surface. But I agree with you, Carlson. At the end of the day, that he's definitely a pragmatist about all this. He's the guy in the emergency room when the terrorist bombs goes off, and he's having to prioritize who gets the treatment first. Mm-hmm. That's what he does.
Okay, so let's move to talking. Is anyone else want to say anything more about the Romulans and the Vulcans before we move on?
Well, I wanted to point out one thing.
But before we, okay.
Go ahead, Sean. Then Son.
Real quick, I wanted to point out that the biggest complaints this week I'm seeing, there seems to be an elevated rage this week throughout the social media sphere about what is arguably the best episode of the series so far, without question. And I think the problem they have with it is that it's really fucking good. I think this is their biggest problem. That all this shit is finally coming together, and it's undermining their anger and their rage for whatever complaints you can make about the show before, even a week prior. It's all evaporating because of, if this is an example of how this show is going to be going forward, then you haters are fucked. Is kind of what
Yeah.
Well,
said it.
okay, I'm gonna play devil's advocate here for a little bit
No.
because I've read some critiques that don't come from the traditional toxic fans that basically just said, well, they fall into that same thing where if I don't agree with what you've done as a writer, that means you're a bad writer, which that's not how it works. It just means you disagree. And so there's been that kind of critique as well that basically said, this season started off very strong. Now it's made these missteps in this episode, which, I think is just, I don't think they're missteps. I mean, the Tilly thing might be, we'll see, and we'll talk about that next. But as far as the Romulans are concerned, the Vulcans are concerned, the fact that they're Nivar, the role of Spock, the role of Michael as Spock's sister, all of that, I think those were strong choices, which a show like this should be making. If they're not aiming for the lowest common denominator here, they're taking some risks, they're making some choices, they're bringing together a lot of different parts of the entire franchise into this one episode. It's a big risk, and I'm glad they took it, and I'm glad that even though some people don't agree with those choices, I would rather that they make the kind of show that's making some bold choices than not be making that kind of show.
I knew this.
I mean, did they really think that they were going to, take away the whole Michael Burnham Spock connection just because it shows?
I think they kind of did think it was going to be abandoned, Justin. I do believe they thought that. And in my opinion, it was elegantly played. Is how they did this. And and I realized how good.
I mean, as soon as we saw the list of episode titles for the season, you had to know this was going to happen.
Yes, exactly. I predicted almost every beat of this episode this week. But
we had total George.
You were right on the money when it came
we had total George moment.
Yeah, thank you. Ross, you were saying?
You were right on the money with those badges.
Yeah, you were right. I got finally a chance to see them up close, and it's exactly as you said.
What I wanted to point out is that I realized how good this episode was going to be when Admiral Exposition was explaining the history of only for this week, because someone's got to explain what's going on.
It has been 1,000 years, Sean.
Exactly. I had no problem with it. I'm just trying to put out designated titles here. He's explaining the whole history of how Navarre left the Federation, and as soon as he says no, it was the Romulans who argued to stay in.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
Now it's gonna get good. Now it's gonna get.
Can I call out one thing here? So they've been in the future for 3 or 4 weeks now, right? They've been 1,000 years in the future for 3 or 4. Well, they've gotten back to Federation headquarters there. Why the heck haven't they been taught a history lesson yet?
There's a lot to cover.
There's a lot of history, dude.
So then, like, why are you sending people out on missions when they're not aware of the geopolitical makeup of the galaxy?
That's what he was doing.
Triage, dude.
That's exactly what he was doing.
Their first priority was to relearn their own ship after it was updated with 1,000 years worth of technological advance.
Well, I mean, Justin does make a little bit of a point here. Is the information?
You mean Jason, of course.
Oh boy.
Damn it.
Jason, make a point here, and that is that this seems to be very urgent for them to get this information right now at this moment, and I'm not really understanding that. What's a few weeks of getting debriefed about the whole Navarre situation going to mean? Except for us, the audience, who needs it because we need it.
Right. We need it, right? We need to know. I'm just saying, like at least just a rundown of who's in and who's out of the Federation at some point while you're getting up to speed on your transporter badge pad tricorder.
I guess I have the answer for this. They walk into a holodeck, whatever the equivalent is, and they go, "Badgie, tell us what's going on."
That would be epic.
That would be epic. Okay, I don't want to forget Sun because Sun's been waiting. So jump in.
Two things. What a wonderful, if awkward, tribute to Anton.
Yes.
I thought that was both touching and slightly disturbing. That the first ship to blow up that she's talking about is the Yelchin.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, to cite one tragedy with another tragedy, I think actually is, history rhymes, right?
Yeah.
Maybe. Second point, we found out that they are actually like completely disconnected at this point. The nacelles.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they would not need to connect to the ship to Black Alert.
I'm not
With all the theories about subspace connections and quantum entanglement and all that stuff, if all that was true, they wouldn't need to connect to the ship to Black Alert because they'd already still be attached.
Were they attached when they went to Black Alert?
Yes, they were. They specifically came back together to the pylons to Black Alert.
Cool.
I noticed it specific. Go back and watch it. I was actually looking for that. I was like, "Hey,
yeah." Actually, I meant to look for it, but it went by so fast. I didn't think about it.
Yeah, they're still detached. Whenever it would.
I hate that, but I'm 99% sure because actually I was looking for that. So I'm 99% sure that was not the case. I'm gonna look it up real quick, see what I can find.
Okay, you look it up while we move on to our next thing. Son, did you have anything else you wanted to point out?
Well, those were the first two, mostly because they were like the major things. My computer crashed and I lost my notepad before the start of the show.
Oh, no.
So those are the two things I remembered the most.
Oh, okay.
They were attached when it jumped.
They were attached?
Yep.
Okay.
They were attached at the end of the episode too, as they're starting to leave the planet.
It was so little, it was hard to tell because they're not that far apart,
It's just little noticeable movements of the nacelles attaching to the pylons.
Interesting. It's kind of reminds me of Voyager, when they'd fold up. Okay, so let's talk about Tilly because that seems to be another big point of contention out amongst the interwebs this week. And I'll start off by saying that when it happened, I had a bad taste in my mouth just because she's an ensign, for Christ's sake. And it just doesn't feel like a realistic thing. I feel about it sort of the same way, although the opposite of how I felt about Harry Kim never getting promoted in 7 years. That it just didn't feel realistic. It didn't feel true to character, all of that. And so that was my initial reaction. In seeing how so many other people reacted negatively to Tilly, I found myself in the spirit of Sun being a little bit more of a contrarian and creating a headcanon for myself, in which it makes sense. So I'll explain that in a second, but first let's hear the rest of you weigh in on how you feel about Tilly's sort of promotion. Let's start with Ross.
Well, having a military background, which was regimented in chain of command, strict adherence to rank, discipline to superiors, it was a little odd to see Saru approach Tilly as his acting XO. It did kind of bug me at first, but then again, there is some precedence for this sort of thing. In Lower Decks, for example, we had Mariner, who was also an ensign, be the acting XO, which, of course, she tried to take a dive to show that she wasn't qualified. She effectively took command of the ship while the captain was down and the rest of the senior officers were busy. There are other potential references and precedents throughout Trek, but it's still odd, and I'm curious to see where they go from there.
Okay. Sean, what about you?
Okay. In general, the notion of Tilly becoming the acting XO, I'm glad they slapped the acting in front of it because it's at least a tad bit more believable. However, I do have to remind myself in general that how young Kirk was when he became captain to begin with, which is absurd, and it's even more absurd in the Kelvin universe.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's one of the precedents.
Right. And it's kind of like I think we tend to look at the Starfleet and the hierarchical command structure through a contemporary lens, and which makes it more problematic for us. But on the bigger point here is it seems to me like she really doesn't have the experience, because when she was on board, she went from cadet to ensign, didn't she? The ensign is
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, it's odd, but I get why they did it. I mean, because it's clear that the XO is going to be responsible for some big decisions. And out of all the characters left that are really available in the main cast, in the main ensemble we're looking at here, she is the only one who really doesn't have her own job to take care of. Like, you've got Stamets, who's in engineering. Of course, you've got Jet Reno in engineering. You've got Hugh, who's the doctor. She is the logical choice when it comes to the writers, because her character is so well developed. I don't think it makes sense to pull any of the more like secondary characters in there. It's kind of like, look, you had in the original series, you had the big three. You had Kirk, Spock, and McCoy. Then you had the secondary characters of Scotty, Uhura, Sulu, Chekhov. Okay, and though they had a little bit more, I think those characters, you could see, like, if they did this on TOS, any one of those characters, say if you put Scotty, but Scotty's in engineering, so how would you do that? You put those characters had a little bit more meat to their roles, I think, than these other ensemble characters on this show do. So I don't think it would really make that much sense for them to do it from a writer's perspective. I mean, it's a little weird. I get it, but you know, I guess I like Tilly enough that I can buy it. That's really what it comes down to, you know.
Okay, Son, how about you?
Okay, so like the moment Saru was like, "Hey, I want you to come with me on this away mission," I was like, "Oh crap! What's gonna go? Are we gonna lose Tilly?" I mean, this seemed like the red shirt moment. It did. But ever since that talk, them walking along the parasitic ice beach, it seemed more and more like the way the writing staff wrote Tilly this season was to become a commanding officer. And I kept saying it over and over again. And it's weird, but at the same time I can see it, because she has all of that chutzpah, I guess you could say, for what it takes to be a leader. Because right now she's in the middle of the Pike in the cage phase, where she's in all of this self-doubt. But who knows? Maybe she'll grow out of that, right? Hopefully she grows out of that if she's going to be an actual commanding officer and not just acting XO, right? But the whole... It seems awkward because, like what Sean said, we've had so little time with these characters that all you look at Tilly, and all you've seen has been this really quirky kid who was the head of the cadet training program, which, let's be honest, why the hell was there a cadet training program on a classified fucking starship?
I'm going to stop you right there. There's been cadet training programs in Star Trek before, and you had one in Deep Space Nine with a Defiant class starship. We all forget Red Squad.
But she said literally at the
beginning. This wasn't a cadet training program. This is an officer training program.
Yeah, wasn't cadet. It was command.
It was a command training program.
Well, no, so that wasn't no. That was season 2 when she became an ensign. In season 1, she was a 4th-year cadet assigned to a starship during a time of war.
Because she was an expert in mycelial theory.
Right. And she was also we saw this with Nog being assigned to Defiant during the war, and
so this
other.
Is not new.
This isn't new. This isn't unprecedented in Star Trek. It's there.
Yeah, but classified starship. I mean, I can.
So is the Defiant.
She happens to, so is the Defiant. I mean, there are going to be some ensigns who have expertise in areas that are beneficial to a classified project. So yeah, they're going to be assigned to that.
She was experienced in astromycology. That's why she was there.
She's experienced in a whole lot more than astromycology.
Yes, but she was there to assist directly with the spore drive. She worked in the engineering lab with Stamets.
I'm not disagreeing with you.
Okay.
Well,
Okay.
I see. I think we've been seeing this throughout the season that she has. I think the trauma that everyone else experienced, including her. I think she's kind of dealt with it the best when you think about it.
That's actually my point as well. Is the reason she is the one who, let's face it, in normal times, she's basically on the spectrum. She's ADD. In a normal sort of military style operation, that's not always a great fit. But in times of chaos, people on the spectrum have clarity that neurotypical people do not. The rest of this crew, they're kind of fucked up right now and will be for a while yet to come. But this is where she shines. Yes. Like she's used to being fucked up. So being in a fucked up situation is normal for her. And I think that Saru recognized that. And I think that and that's why the acting is so important, because he needs someone to shepherd this crew through this transitional period.
Right.
If she stays, I will have more of a problem with it.
Saru needs someone to shepherd him, for Christ's sake, is what it comes down to, as a strong XL should. And that's exactly what we saw in last week's episode when with her advising him on Burnham. She was absolutely correct, and she did what a good first officer should, and that was to tell the captain the uncomfortable truth, things they don't want to believe. And even Saru acknowledged that he didn't want to believe that either. That it took Tilly telling him for him to really recognize that, to accept it.
Right. And the other thing too, I mean, here's what I'm going to say, is that Star Trek, the universe depicted, there's a lot of talk about how the economics work in Star Trek, but reality, it's a meritocracy. It's who's doing the best in the moment tends to get the currency, and in this case, it is Tilly. Tilly is doing the best of this crew. She's unifying the senior staff. She's being a counselor to Saru. She's being So is it realistic? I mean, again, it's all fiction, it's all fantasy, and it's in a world where the people who are doing the best, right? Like they're the ones who are going to get promoted. They're the ones who are going to excel. They're it's not based on seniority. It's not based on who you know. It's strictly based on how you're doing. And so far this season, Tilly's doing better than most. And he went with Burnham, and Burnham disappointed him for various reasons. And so now he's following his gut and saying, we're gonna do it. I'm just gonna do Tilly as my acting until I can figure this out. And we'll see how that plays out.
Okay, so prediction time, quick round robin. Do you think that Tilly is going to end up the actual XO, or are we going to have someone else step into that role? And what kind of person do you think that might be? So quick go around. Let's start with Stalwart Justin.
I'm kind of seeing that as a possibility. This is a total George moment on my end, because I see Saru, getting promoted and something else going off the Discovery crew. So I see that happening with Tilly. I see Burnham stepping back into the fold.
Dude, last week you were saying Burnham wasn't even going to be on the ship anymore.
Well,
so.
You know what? And that completely changed at the last minute. I thought for sure she was going to be gone, so I'm going to go 180.
Moving on.
I'm gonna go do a 180 here.
Okay, well, I think you've gone too far in the other direction, but all right, Ross,
Hey,
you.
it's my George moment, and I'm gonna have it. Dang it!
Oh, it's all yours, George. Go ahead, Ross.
I'm taking a wait and see approach. Tilly,
Oh, okay.
like we
Fine,
said,
be reasonable.
that's
We're-
me.
this
It's
is-
reasonable.
This is Super Geeks. We are not reasonable here. It's not part of our charter.
That's exactly what I am, unless I'm geeking out and then I'm hyperactively giddy. But I'm gonna wait and see. She has potential. She has the capability. Now it's just a matter to see if she rises to the challenge.
Linus is going to be captain.
And there
no.
appear to be some pretty serious challenges coming up.
Indeed. Sean.
I think she will be, and the reason why I think I think making her an acting ensign, boy, was it Crusher again, an acting XO. I think this was simply a device for the writers because it would just been ridiculous. I think they thought they would be going too far if they made her the permanent XO at this point. I think we're going to see Tilly do more and more as the season progresses. Now that we're nearly halfway through it, or over more than halfway through it, and that it's going to be completely justified by the time we get to the end of the season that Tilly is now the permanent XO. It's going to happen.
Okay, Son.
Before I say anything, I would just like to say that of all of the people on Discovery, like Tilly is the only one we've seen say anything about all this trauma. Period.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah.
Because she talked to Burnham about it. Like in the hallway. That was the she's saying what we're all thinking moment of the episode.
Sure. Yeah.
And that's that's one of the reasons why I'm like, she's gonna become the commanding officer. It seems really apparent that's going to be the case. And I look at I look at the explanations that a bunch of people are giving for, well, she should be the XO, and maybe, but you have two other officers at this point on this ship who have had not exactly this kind of trauma, but have survived and gotten through a trauma just like this. The doctor and his husband.
Yeah, but I think the only problem.
But neither of them are lined up to be first officer.
Yeah, that's not right. They're there. Look, remember, Stamets is there solely. He's there. His original purpose for being on that ship, and it continues to be, is the scientific aspect of the mission.
Yeah.
It's more drive.
Right, and so this is not that would not be a position that he would.
You got to remember, he was going to leave the ship at the end of last season.
Is Hugh still not the chief medical officer at this
He's
point?
still not the chief medical officer.
Well, then he literally could be the XO.
No,
it doesn't make
not
any
necess-
sense for a
Doctors. Okay.
Right,
Doctors
that's
are
not
different kinds of officers on ships
Right.
like this.
Exactly.
Beverly was an exception because she cross-trained into the command program. But typically, generally, doctors are their own field. That's why you never saw Dr. McCoy in the captain's chair.
Okay, rewind the episode. Tilly literally says herself she has not been in the training program for command whatsoever.
No, what she said was, since they've jumped into the future, there is no command training program anymore.
Right, exactly.
That's a very different thing.
No, that's what Saru said to her, not what she said. She said she had never been part of the command training program, and that was his response to her.
That's not right.
No, that's
right.
not
She
right.
was.
She was. That's what her whole stint, son. That was her whole stint.
That was the whole storyline. She was in the command training program. She absolutely was. She had a little T-shirt to prove it.
She's been through some shit too.
If that's the case, then the writers for the show simply forgot what she did last season. Because that's literally what she says in this episode. Go back and watch it.
I will, but that's not what I took from what she said. That's not what I took from what she said. I took from what she said was that because they're now in the future and there is no Starfleet, or the old Starfleet doesn't exist anymore, the command training program it doesn't matter anyway. It's irrelevant because they're literally in a different universe. So
Okay.
She was giving
Okay, let's move
Saru
on.
every reason not to trust her.
Let's move on. We're an hour and 14 minutes in. All right, let's go.
okay, so let's wind up with our scores for the episode, which apparently was indeed a controversial episode. So let's start with Justin.
Okay, I'm gonna update my score last week and this week. So we're gonna do an overall. I'm gonna have to give it an 8.5.
Okay, Ross.
Yeah.
9 out of 10.
9
My
out of
only
10?
real criticism, my only real criticism was when they were doing that real heartwarming "say yes" moments in the engineering lab, and everyone was gushing over it, like, "Yeah, this is all about you. This is all about you." Michael shows up. Oh, now it's all about Michael. And then back to Tilly, back to Michael, back to Tilly. It should have been her moments, and then that I don't understand why they did that.
I felt like it really was her moment. But...
That's funny. I didn't look at it from like that, but now I kind of do. That's kind of funny.
Okay, so Sean, what's your score?
So like I said at the very beginning of the season, I was not giving out perfect scores because I expected there was going to be an episode or two that was going to completely wow me. This was the episode that completely wowed me. I'm giving this a full 10 out of 10.
Whoa.
Okay.
Whoa.
Okay, and Son, how about you? Where'd you land on this one?
I would like to say that we did never discuss this is both good and bad Burnham at the same time.
Oh, well, okay, this is your chance to do it quick.
Okay, so we had bad Burnham at the beginning of this episode because she's just in front of everything, asserting how correct she is about all the shit that should go on. And then the second half of the episode is her having shit fall apart around her and letting it and just reacting to it. And that's both the bad Burnham and the good Burnham in the same episode.
That must have thrown you into a tizzy.
I don't know how to feel about it. That's why I'm giving it just a solid 8.
Wow. Okay. I think that's a good compromise.
That's kind of low for this season, but it's still pretty up there.
Yeah. Okay. And finally, Jason.
So, I could give it 2 thumbs up, 10 out of 10, whatever. It was a really good episode. It was a solid episode. We learned more. I mean, it had the right callbacks. We didn't talk about Leonard Nimoy showing up in the videos of the video of Spock. Was just totally touching, and it was very moving. The callbacks to Picard. Watching there was a featurette on Star Trek on Discovery's Facebook page where they talked about how they were working on this, and they're like, "What is this?" Because they didn't know when they were filming this. They were going to start filming this. What the whatever was.
Kwat-Malat.
Yeah, Kwat-Malat
No,
was.
the Carlton set.
The Kwat-Malat, right? So because keep in mind this was introduced to Picard, so the concepts were there, right? The concepts were carried over in the script, but they didn't know what they were, and they're like, "What is this?" Like because they couldn't find anything because the episode hadn't aired yet, right? So they could, the writers or the production team's going to probably Memory Alpha. And there's nothing coming up, and they're like, "What is this?" Oh, this is over. So they had to rush over dailies from Picard for the production team on Discovery to watch and get and pull all that. And they did it stunningly. I mean, her outfit looks just like what's his name? Elnor's. It was it was very stunning, and and I really
didn't Kristen Beyer. She wrote both episodes.
I actually thought that her outfit was one of the other nuns' outfits from
right. So
that episode.
She wrote both episodes, right? So, but the production team wasn't really key
because they're 2 separate people. Yeah,
they're 2 different people.
Teams. Yeah.
So 2 different teams. So they were like that. When they were trying to build this, they were like, "Well, what is this? We haven't heard of this." And then they had to be connected with the Discovery with the Picard team. But it was. Again, I love the tie-in to it. It was perfect. And I love the tie-in to to Lower Decks. That last episode of Lower Decks, where you learn about a Federation that doesn't check up on people and just becomes too stretched too thin. It's interesting that Lower Decks came before the season because it was supposed to come after, right? But with COVID, they were closer to being done on Lower Decks, and I think it just resonated. We get callbacks to Deep Space Nine, we get callbacks to TNG with the idea that the Federation is just over expanding to a point to where it just collapses in on itself, much like the Roman Empire, much and much like within history, we see all this, so it all kind of played together. I'm interested to see how they resolve this, and I'm interested to see the rest of the season.
All right, and Ross. I've already yeah. Okay, so it's just me. Okay, so I'm giving it a solid 9. I thought that it balanced a lot of things really well. I thought it had a few flaws, but not overwhelming. So it kept it from being perfect. But I thought it was a wonderful way to weave together all these different storylines from so many different Star Trek series in a way that felt really satisfying and, dare I say it, logical.
Yeah, I mean, I want to point out that the biggest the biggest thing that made this episode so important to me for this series is that from the very beginning, before even a single frame was shot, we were told that this was going to be the Michael Burnham story, that she was the protagonist of this show.
Mm-hmm.
This is the first episode where I honestly felt, because I've been complaining about this for a while, they finally figured out what they want to do with Michael Burnham. She finally had her moment, and between this episode and what we've seen building up so far, I think she's finally found herself, and I think that bodes well for the character going forward.
But
yeah, our
Sean,
buddy Kowalski said this is a soft reboot, pretty much, for the season.
Well, no, but I think
it is not. That's ridiculous.
So Sean, what I would challenge you is with this is that, like, it goes back to kind of what I was saying about last week's episode. Could you have had this week's episode and seeing the growth and development of Michael Burnham without the last season, two and a half? You couldn't. You
no,
had to have
not.
that.
Yeah,
you had to have that storytelling. That is the frame. You just can't have like this Michael Burnham show up. You have to see that journey, and that's what's beautiful about Discovery versus every other freaking Star Trek series, where the journey is like just the characters are the same at the start of every single episode. And the only series where we saw any kind of journey was Deep Space Nine, and Deep Space Nine was subject to the same type of bullshit ridicule that Discovery's given.
Yeah, you're right.
Because of it.
This is 43 episodes in, where they fully brought this to a point where this character seems fully developed. And I think that's a wonderful journey. I think that's a good thing, because normally it's like character acts this way, and either at the end of this episode, at the end of 4 episodes, it's a completely different character. And now we know who the character is. This has been a journey of development for this character. I think that's a positive.
My only complaint, her lines are still too whispered. Oh my God. It was really bad this episode. Like, so much whispering. But other than that, I have very few complaints about this episode.
Yeah, you do have to watch this show with the captions on.
Yeah, you really do. Well, it wasn't just the level
anyway?
of sound. It's just that as a character choice, it's just overdone. Like,
I always watch shows with captions on because you always miss stuff.
Well, when you're going through an introspective journey, you tend not to be too loud about it.
Well, that's true, but you are in front of a tribunal. That's where she's talking.
Is this just an audio problem with maybe?
No. It's a directorial issue.
Okay, because I asked this because I don't know if the biggest problem I always is like a reverse problem I would have with Doctor Who, like New Who, where I could never hear the dialogue, but it was because of the way that their 5.1 channel mix was so fucking bad that all you heard.
Yeah, no, this isn't that. This is a very deliberate. acting / directing.
Yeah,
choice.
because you can change your sound settings. Because I thought maybe that's what it was.
No.
It was an issue
Clearly,
with the sound setting.
this is an acting choice. This is
Yeah.
an acting choice.
I just never. I guess it really hasn't affected me. I really haven't noticed it like you guys have.
I don't notice it that much, except this episode. There was a lot of it, and I was like, "Why is she whispering when she's like?"
Maybe they had to
declaring
redub it.
No, it's a choice, dudes. This is not an accident.
Yeah.
This is how she chose to deliver the lines. It's the way the director chose to have her deliver the lines. It was not a good choice. It just is weird.
Hopefully
given
they learn
the
from their
circumstances.
mistakes.
Well, yeah, sure. I'm sure they will. All right. So that brings us to the end of this week. Next week on Star Trek Discovery, it looks like we're going to have a Giorgio-centric episode.
Yay!
The bits we've seen, the clips we've seen of next episode are kind of funky looking when it comes to Giorgio and the mental crap she's going through. We're going to find out how much of this is her, and if it's, there's so many theories about her
DNA is being ripped apart because she's so far away from the mirror universe.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We'll see what all that means.
By the way, also my theory as well that not only changing over universes, but time traveling is fucking her up.
Yep.
Remember, I called this.
Yes, you did.
You did.
Yes, you did.
Yes, we did, George Jr.
Apparently, we're going to find out next week. So stay tuned.
For those who haven't watched Spider-Verse on Netflix, because the character does a very similar wig out that Giorgio is doing in the trailer.
What
Same
else?
type of stretchiness and
Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah. Oh, that's true. That's a good point.
Yeah, same type of fritz out. So that's I immediately made that connection. I was like, that's how they're going to do the plot point to send her back in time.
Okay, last thing before we leave the topic of Discovery, I noticed that Adam Isle looked up what it was Tilly actually said, and it popped up there on the bottom of the screen. And there it says, just watched it. She says, I never finished the command training program.
That's because
she
she
was
jumped 900 and something years in the future.
Correct. Okay. All right. So let's move on to the Mandalorian. And in an episode called The Jedi, and frankly, probably the episode we've been waiting 2 years for.
Yes.
In so many ways. Thank you for putting that up, Justin. I was about to request that you put that up because I think that is such a great image that kind of
who all squealed whenever they seen Ahsoka jump on screen with the lightsaber? I know Ross did.
The first thing.
I know Ross did.
I'll tell you what was funny is that I said to my boys, because they said, my boys are like, we finally going to see Ahsoka? I said, look, man, they've been telling us, everybody's been expecting for the last 2 weeks, they may be fucking with us again. And as I'm saying that, they might be messing with us again. There she is. Oh, never mind. She's here. Okay, good. Good. And by the way, the moment she got on screen, I think we all collectively went, yep, this is a perfect casting choice. The moment we saw her, we're like, this works. Yeah.
She is an amazing actor, and I felt like, great acting is not in how you deliver a line; it's in how you don't deliver a line.
Yeah.
It's how like some of her moments, like when she was like talking to Baby Yoda. I refuse to call him by that name.
Right.
It's Grogu.
Grogu.
Don't want to hear it.
Grogu or
when she was
Groot Jr.
When she was talking to him, like you got the sense that there was in fact this conversation going on between this woman and a puppet that felt like it was real, and that is hard to pull off, and she totally did, and whoever was running the puppet totally did as well. That really worked. So lots to talk about in this episode. So some of the top issues, obviously, the appearance of Ahsoka Tano, what we find out is sort of a through line from Anakin. Of course, she was Anakin's Padawan, that we see has a direct connection to what we find out about Baby Yoda in this episode. And, and then, of course, the big issue, Mandalorian thought he was handing off the child and his duty was to be discharged, and only to discover that, in fact, it's only just beginning anew. So, so let's talk about it. We finally got a Jedi episode. Like that was full on Jedi in the way. Yeah, of course it was. It was
Ahsoka isn't a Jedi.
Well, yes, but she was doing all the things that Jedi does.
I mean,
so this is actually, Ross, this is exactly the question that I had watching the episode. Okay, so like all the people that talk about having watched Rebels and all that kind of stuff, she leaves the Jedi Order, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that doesn't make
she
her...
was expelled. She was expelled because she was accused of murder. And then when she was cleared, they invited her back, and she said no.
That doesn't make her not a Jedi, though.
Rebels,
it just makes her not a member of the Order.
Okay. In Rebels, when she against Darth Vader, after figuring out that he's Anakin, she, I forget the line, something along the lines of disappointing for a Jedi. She replies, "No Jedi."
What? I didn't get that. She
said, "I am no Jedi" to Vader.
Right. I mean, she definitely, like, after being falsely accused and then invited back in, she obviously doesn't associate with the Jedi Order anymore. But to the things that Carlos is saying is that, like, this is what a Jedi would do. A Jedi would go and free a village of the tyrannical leader who is being, that's exactly within the character of the Jedi. Is she following the Jedi sect? No, of course not. I mean, the sect is gone now, obviously. Yeah. And she saw them fall in their own hubris, right? So in the episode where she goes in to basically tell the Jedi Council about what, about the Palpatine's, his Michigans or whatever they're called, they just dismiss her on a hand, and she doesn't even get it out the door, so she just leaves. Right. So I get it. She doesn't feel associated with those particular Jedi leaders, and she doesn't, claim the Jedi Order anymore, but she's still a Jedi.
Yeah. I want to point this out. This is I'm going to make a comparison here. This is what happens when you go through your entire youth in Catholic grammar and high school. Okay. You pick up a few things. Priests can leave the priesthoods, can leave the church because they decide that they no longer want to be a priest. They can do this, but they are still, even after they've gone, started new lives, got married, even whatever, they're always considered a priest, even if they're gone, even if they're out of the church as an official priest, they're still always considered priests by the church. And that's kind of what we see here. She's always going to be a Jedi, even if she's not in the club anymore, even if she's not in the church anymore. Is really what
there is no church left, really. So all that's left of the Jedi is basically like her, what she is.
Yeah. I wanted to, before I forget, I want to point out this really stupid Easter egg that I loved because it was just such a great nod. Okay, you guys did see who the Merc was, right? You realize who that was played by, right? Michael Biehn.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So
God, he's gotten old.
Honestly, he looks really good. Like he's actually.
He looks great, but
it's amazing. It's like he's actually got some meat on him now. He's not.
I know, because he was always he needed a sandwich or two.
Exactly right. So, and of course, Michael Biehn is the original Kyle Reese from the original Terminator film. Mm-hmm. And did you notice when they were going through the list? Amanda was going through the list of the opposition. The first thing he talked about were the HK droids.
Yeah, well, that is a reference to the Old Republic.
Yeah, well, I don't think it is an reference to the Old Republic, but that was certainly somebody said. You know what? I have no doubt. Somebody said we had HKs in the Terminator too, didn't we? Let's put those in there. I have no doubt that the Hunter Killers, that the Hunter Killer reference was there intentionally. It was one of those serendipitous moments that worked very well for their guest star.
HK-47 is ready to serve. Meat bag.
God, you actually sound like one too, Ross.
Yeah, he does. Yep.
You are the eyebrows of doom.
He doesn't look like what's his name though anymore. Johnny Ringo.
I hope not. I hope not.
Which is Michael Bihn's best role ever.
He's still got the Commander McNeil vibe though.
All right, so let's switch back over to this episode. High points, low points. Son.
It was so the one thing I absolutely loved about this episode was finally a good guy who goes, "Bitch, you're already torturing these people. How's the blood on my hands? Fuck you."
Yes,
that actually occurred to me too as I was watching that. I like that. Good point.
Like the blood's on your hands. No. If you kill them, the blood is on your hands. You're the one who did it.
Exactly. It's like, how can you guilt trip me? You're the one doing all this shit.
Right, exactly.
The other thing I love was in this Western of a show, and even through most of the movies, there's been this, the backstory that we keep hearing about Star Wars is all of like Japanese Kurosawa films and all this kind of stuff. And yet in this episode, we've probably had the most Japanese centric aesthetic in the fight between Ahsoka and
Yes.
Yes.
Because it felt so Japanese.
It really did.
It really did. It was great. I agree.
It was. Go ahead, Sean. Go ahead.
I was going to just point out that back to what I think the best parts of this episode, as great as the big battle scene was, the best parts of this episode were with the dialogue, were with the quiet parts. I absolutely, back to what you pointed out with the beginning, where we watch Ahsoka and Baby Yoda. I will call him Baby Yoda for you.
Thank you.
When they were having their conversation, everyone in the audience knew that they were speaking telepathically. Everyone in the audience. We didn't even need Mando to say anything. We all knew. That's how well that whole scene was played out by Rosario Dawson, by the guy handling the puppet, by the cinematographer, and by the director. That was a team effort to get that, to make that come across, and it was so beautifully done. I love that. At the very end, when it was funny when Ahsoka said, "I can't take him because I knew," and Nana's like, "Oh, come on!" And she spelled it out to him why she couldn't do it, and he was resigned to that. It's like he understood, and that worked very well. When he initially goes to try to find her in the beginning, and he gets offered the Beskar steel to hunt her down, it's like we all sitting there going, "Yeah, he's just using you, bitch. Yeah, he's just trying to find out where she is. He's not going to help you. He's not going to help you doing this shit to this people. Come on." So, yeah. So it's those are some just great moments in it.
Okay. Other high points, low points. Jason.
I don't think there were any really major low points in this episode. I think it was solid from bow to stern. Like from the beginning, I didn't understand why we were introduced to Ahsoka right at the beginning. But then obviously they wanted to give you that prologue before we caught up with Mando. Seeing kind of the interaction between Grogu and Ahsoka was great. Seeing Ahsoka, seeing Rosario Dawson play the pain of Anakin, of the turn of Anakin, and her refusal to train Grogu.
Yeah, that was a big deal.
Was awesome. It was like, seeing her, you could see that, like, and the part of Rebels and Clone Wars that I'm missing is, I guess that kind of brings out the humanity of Anakin that we didn't see in the prequel trilogy, that I think is the biggest flaw of the prequel trilogy. Not Jar Jar Binks. It's just his humanity didn't come through in the last two films. So when he turned, it was. So I hear we see that, and to see her reaction and her saying, "No, I can't do this." I hope we see more of her. If the low point would be if this is the only thing we see.
We have to see more of her.
Rosario Dawson is amazing. I would have liked to have had maybe a little bit more exposition around what's her name? The villain,
Magistrate.
The magistrate, yeah. And then what the thing I did learn in this episode is that
Morgan Elsbeth, by the way.
Who was that?
The character's name was Morgan Elsbeth.
Morgan Elsbeth. Was she played by Jada Pinkett Smith?
No, she played by Diana Lee Anasanto, and she looks so familiar in the episode. And now I'm looking at her IMDb photo, and I have no idea who she is. It's one of those weird things.
I swear it was. I swear she was.
Jada Pinkett
Smith.
She looks like the president from Expanse. That's why she's got that familiar. She's primarily, as you can tell by her performance here, she's primarily a stunt person, and so I'm going to assume she did all her own fight scenes. So,
yeah, and I did learn that Beskar can repel.
Lightsabers, yes, cool. I did not know that either. That was kind of cool.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering.
Yeah, now you know why they were fighting all the time, because they could fight all the time without the Jedi kicking their ass. That's why.
I wonder if that's why the dark saber is so important that it can actually cut.
Right, that's the only thing. Right, that's exactly it. My only real low point of this episode. I do want to talk a lot about this episode. I want to get this out there. My only real low point was Lang, who was Michael Biehn's Merc character. I was hoping that he would do exactly what he did, but then he kind of completely failed with it. He said, there are wars worth fighting here. There are battles worth fighting. He goes, this isn't one of them. And then he puts down his blaster, and I'm hoping, please don't do something stupid like pull another one out. And he fucking did. I was like, it would have been so much more impressive.
But of course he was going to do that.
But why?
I mean, come on now.
What was in it for him at that point? He knew his benefactor was done. What's the point of fighting that cause?
And not just done at the hands of a Jedi.
Right.
There's no way he's going to survive.
Right. Exactly. I mean, just walk away, dude. Walk away. You got a golden opportunity here.
Get a head start before the town turns on you.
They looked like they were primed and ready to do.
I just call it Uber.
Wait a minute. I got to pull up Adam's comment here because he's pulling a total George moment.
No, I called it last night. I'm absolutely not unconvinced.
Yeah. I did a little bit of research after this episode.
So did I. You looked it up too, didn't you?
And I did, and it doesn't necessarily mean we're going to see Luke, people.
Dude, we're fucked. It's Luke.
It's Luke. It's Luke. It's Luke.
Luke.
I have a George theory. I have a George theory that I'm going to right now.
Your hat,
it is completely softball. It's completely out there. It's not likely to happen, but I'm going to say it anyway because it just popped in my head. Kyle Katarn.
Who?
Kylo Ren?
Kyle Katarn. Doesn't sound remotely like Kylo Ren. Kyle Katarn was the lead character of Dark Forces. He was a bounty hunter and gunslinger in the first one. He eventually became a Jedi on his own and joined with Luke eventually to create the new Jedi Temple.
What about the dude from...
I'm not done yet. Because they are taking so much from Legacy, it seems likely to me, albeit unlikely, that they might draw upon him instead of Luke to respond to his call to the Force if he does so.
Maybe
it could be Cal Kestis.
But Cal Kestis didn't find the original Jedi Temple though. That's the thing. This is the only problem with this is that I did the exact same research Carlos did last night to brush up on my legend shit too. And when you make the connection with Tython, you've got Luke there. Now the Kyle Katarn thing, because I just did my instantaneous research on that, makes total sense. That would make total sense.
Actually, that does make more sense to me as well.
Adam has a very interesting possibility too.
Ezra. I mean, but again,
that's Ezra.
And that makes sense. Actually, Adam, that makes sense given what we know about Ahsoka Tano. So, yeah, because she's looking for him. Oh, Adam, stop it! You had me, and now you just lost me, Adam.
So. I have a theory that's probably way out there. Who was Tom Baker's character in Rebels?
The The Bindu.
Yeah, is that still a thing, or did he die?
No, well, he kind of he became a cloud.
He ascended.
Well, he became a cloud and then a storm. The Bindu
He did
was
it, Daniel Jackson.
in between light and dark. So he was kind of pissed off by the Jedi versus Sith battles going on.
I would think that if there was anyone with enough force strength to sense this little itty bitty child reaching out through the galaxy, it would be the Bindu guy.
Except, that's actually a great segue to our next topic, which is no, the idea that like who is Baby Yoda? Like
Grogu.
Everyone, whatever. We've and you'll recall that way back at the beginning, y'all were like, "Oh, he's so cute, he's a baby, blah blah blah," and I was like, you know what? He's 50 years old. Right. He's been through some shit already. And now we know a lot more about what kind of shit he's been through. Like he survived the slaying of all the wee Jedi on Coruscant. Yes, Adam, thank you. And and he's hiding. He's not reaching out. He's been hiding his powers. There's a darkness to this character that they've hinted at, and I have to say, giving credit where it's due, they've done a good job of doing these little hints along the way since the beginning of this series. This is a dark little character, you guys.
Yeah, look, little cookie stealing motherfucker.
Yeah.
He's still a cute little dark little fucker.
He is a cute little fucker, but goddamn, there's a darkness there, and Ahsoka she pointed it out.
He's the only gremlin that actually looks like a Mogwai.
Look. Here's the thing. If you look at what she said, if you consider what drove Anakin, kind of hate doing this, but unfortunately, we have to reference the prequel trilogy here. Okay. We don't have much of a choice. Is a problem.
He was in the prequel trilogy. Trilogy, essentially.
Trilogy. Mowage. Is one pointing thought here. Okay. So he was in the prequel trilogy, but if you look at the prequel trilogy and what ultimately drove Anakin to the dark side, it's exactly the same kind of attachments that Ahsoka warned about his attachment to Mando.
But no. But it's not though, because his attachment was to Padme. There isn't that kind of attachment to Mando and Din Djarin. That's a father-son attachment,
which is pretty. If you look at the scheme of Star Wars, father-son issues are like dead center.
I mean, I don't see.
Kids who have daddy issues end up ruling the galaxy.
But it's not even so much that. It's like I don't see. It's a different kind of relationship, but it's still an incredibly strong familial bond. I mean, I don't see how there's a difference.
Guys, Ross is so eager to step in here. Just let him go.
Right. He's busted.
Here is the difference between Anakin and Grogu. Anakin was given counsel.
One has a good name and the other has a stupid name.
Shut up.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Anakin was given counsel on how to deal with these feelings. He ignored them. Yoda told him, learn to let go. Train yourself to let go. So when they pass, you can mourn them peacefully. You can move on. You can deal with this sort of thing in a healthy manner. Instead, he jealously held on. And instead of coming out and saying directly what the problem was, he kept it secret. That lie is what corrupted those feelings, that fear of loss, that greed that was within him, both for that connection and for the secret, tore him up inside. If he was able to come forward and speak, hey, I have a wife. She's pregnant. I'm seeing that she's going to die. He would have had to deal with consequences, sure. But at the same time, then he could have dealt with it in an honest and upfront manner instead of skulking around in the shadows, being manipulated by Palpatine. There's so much more than that. It was shit. Oh, he was attached to somebody and let his fear get to him. There's more.
Oh, there is way more, and in fact, I want to expand on what you said here, because while we're talking about that, this ties directly into the parent-child relationship here. Is that you have to remember, if you go back to even, again, I got to bring up Attack of the Clones, and it hurts my soul to do this, but here's the thing. They kept him from his mother. I mean, it never made sense to me in The Phantom Menace. Why? Okay, we can't afford to buy her today, but why not go back and buy her? Because the Jedi intentionally kept him away from his mother. When he felt something terrible was happening, he went off on his own to find her and found out that he was just minutes away, if that, or an hour or whatever, from having been able to save her from getting killed by the Tusken Raiders. So there's that he has to contend with, that the Jedi, A, kept him away from her, and B, had they given a shit about him, he could have saved his mother from being killed. And that was the first moment that we saw Adam, I'm looking at Adam thinking here. Anakin go to the dark. Adam goes to the dark side all the time, little prick. Anakin go to the dark side, and of course kill all the Tusken Raiders, women and children included. So yeah, that is all part of the package with Anakin Skywalker. I wanted to point out, I wasn't saying that that's the only thing, and that's the only comparison between the two. I totally agree with you, Ross, that is a huge difference between the two.
Hell, Anakin said it himself in Attack of the Clones when he turned to Padme and said, "We could keep it a secret. Could you live a lie? No, it would destroy us." He said it himself, and that secret destroyed him.
Yeah, I mean, and I think Ahsoka's concern is that not so much that it's the same thing, but it could very well lead to be the same thing. That's her biggest concern.
Well, yeah, I mean, the issue here with Grogu is that he's lived through a traumatic experience, and that he's suppressing, and that he has now focused on the Mandalorian as his attachment, the thing that keeps him going and that gives his life some meaning and some purpose, while allowing him to remain hidden. I mean, think about the fact that, you know, this guy, that basically he's the only one for whom he will perform any force stuff.
Magic baby hands.
Yeah, jazz hands. That, you know, for the rest of the universe, he's hidden these things. He does not want to be found out as a Jedi or proto Jedi, whatever.
Grogu.
Exactly.
Grogu.
As force sensitive.
Grogu.
Force sensitive. Thank you.
Yeah, and he specifically, when you look at when he's used his powers, even to his own detriment, he specifically used it to either save or help Mando out in one way or the other.
Yes.
Even when in the final episode of last season, when Keith Carter, is that his name? The Carl Weathers character?
Oh yeah, Keith.
When he fixed his arm there, okay, that was
the magic hand thing.
Do the magic hand thing, right? Exactly. That was all about. He is Mando's friend. I must save him. I must help him. He doesn't just randomly whip that shit out at any time and just expose himself like that. But he was in a situation where he had to help him, and that he knew that Mando would protect him at the same time. So he's very selective about when he.
So what we're witnessing here is the baby from the labyrinth song, magic dance.
Last thing I'm going to say on it, also keep in mind that Ahsoka's perspective on it is just from her side of it. Right. She doesn't know Anakin's thoughts. She doesn't know all of the struggles he was going through. She just knows that before she left the temple, he was the paragon of the Jedi. He was the wisest, the strongest, and the most capable Jedi that she knew. And she was biased. She was his Padawan. And then she left. She had very little interaction with him for a time. Order 66 went down. She was at Mandalore, and then the next time she saw him, it was him in the cockpit of his TIE fighter, and he was Darth Vader.
Yeah.
Look, I want to point out, put that back on the screen. I was just going to comment on that, what Adam just said. Okay. And this goes exactly to what Ross just said, actually. It's not just when you witness the killing of classmates, but one of your own, it would screw you up. He witnessed the killing of his classmates to someone that was supposed to protect them. Anakin was their protector, just like all the other Jedi Knights were the protectors of the younglings. That was their job, to protect the younglings. That was part of their call. And it was that trust was so what's the word I'm looking for? It was violated to such an extreme that, yeah, it's like Carlos said, he's got some darkness in him, that, of course. And I totally agree with him, Adam, on this, that Luke was right, the Jedi were wrong. He was. Luke, that's absolutely correct. And that was the one thing I think people missed from the Last Jedi is how right Luke was about everything in the franchise up to that point, of how incredible, of how it wasn't just those movies weren't just about the rise and fall of Anakin Skywalker. They were about the rise and fall of the Jedi themselves. Because look, I mean, the Jedi are just fucking dumb in these films.
Yeah.
They're fanatics.
And they do right. They're fanatics, and they do terrible and stupid things, and they were the ultimate cause of their own undoing.
Do you guys think the fandom really gets that, though? Because, when you look at Star Wars fanboys, they're all about the Jedi. They're all about the lightsabers. They're all about, being knights and stuff. And do you think they actually really see that, in fact,
I am Grogu?
Oh my God.
Well,
that they get it, that these Jedi that they so admire really ended up fucking it up for everybody?
I think when you've got fans like us, you got fans like Adam, and I think it's probably a generational thing. When we look at this in the big picture, I think we do. There's a lot of surface level Star Wars fans, just like there are a lot of surface level Star Trek fans.
I agree with you, Adam. You know what? Adam. You guys, we need to have Adam on next week.
Absolutely. I'd love to have Adam.
I don't know why we haven't had him. Yeah. Adam, can you join us next week? Let us know if you can join us next week.
Yeah, seriously, because I'd love talking further in depth about sound. I agree. I'm not a hater of the Last Jedi like so many Star Wars fans are. Star Wars fans are such haters of the Last Jedi that they actually have decided, because they hate that movie so much, that Rogue One is actually good, and that drives me nuts.
Rogue One was a good movie.
Okay.
Rogue One was a good movie.
Sure. Okay. Sure.
It's not an either or; it's both and.
I've been critical of that movie since the beginning. Okay. But the point being is that with The Last Jedi, yes, I got it.
Mute him already.
The only thing I find problematic about The Last Jedi is the whole Canto Bight thing, because two things about that. First and foremost, it took up so much fucking time in the movie, and it was completely almost unrelated to the film itself. And there was no follow-up in the following film with it whatsoever.
Yes, correct.
So it was completely wasted. But the rest of that, if you take out Canto Bight, it's a good damn movie, especially if you're looking at what I like to call the Dagobah 2.0 scenes. I mean,
see, so I agree that The Last Jedi was actually a really good movie, even with the casino heist, whatever thing that was going on there. The problem I had with The Last Jedi is the story that it told as it related to Luke Skywalker. Right?
Really?
Yeah, that's the part I really didn't like, because and this goes back to what we were talking about with Discovery and things like that. It's this idea that I own the character of Luke Skywalker. I mean, you gotta realize after Return of the Jedi, there was nothing, until the prequel, and even then it was the prequel. It was nothing about it was Luke Skywalker. So I read years of novels and novel after novel. So I had in my head this entire grand vision of what Luke would go on to do, and the new Jedi Order he would establish, and then we get to a point where all of that was thrown out by Disney, as being part of Legends, and then but nothing really was done further about that until we get to the new trilogy, and then we get to The Last Jedi, and that really just pissed all over the Luke Skywalker legacy. It was a great movie, right? But it didn't do what but he wasn't always whiny. That's the thing, though. Look at Luke. Listen, look at Luke. Yes, he was a whiny little bitch in A New Hope. But by the time we get to Return of the Jedi, he was a bad motherfucker, right? Like, he walked right into Jabba's palace and took what he wanted, and just commanded that whole thing. And that's what really, like, it goes back to like that reset button where we go back to whiny Skywalker as opposed to, and it just deconstructed all that. That's what I didn't like about it. It was still a great film. I just didn't like the story.
Well, I mean, like I said, I've always my position on that has always been that after 30 years, and especially after what we saw in The Force Awakens, where it's clear that this band of rebels has no idea how to run a government.
Which by the way we're seeing play out in The Mandalorian.
Absolutely, yeah. I think after in retrospect, and the fact that he basically created Kylo Ren, I thought the transformation over 30 years, I thought it was appropriate. He became get off my lawn Jedi. And
I feel like you're both right. I mean, I did not read a lot of the novels and stuff too, so I was not emotionally invested in it like you were, Jason. But at the same time, I left Return of the Jedi feeling like the galaxy has a new future, a new hope, dare I say. Right. New government, the fall of the Empire, all of that, blah, blah, blah. I know in reality, that things are never quite that neat. They're messy, and we're seeing some of that mess is what's driving the Mandalorian story. But the point is that over that time period, I really felt like the New Republic should have been better than they portrayed it in the sequel trilogy. Like, you never got the sense that they were ever in any way competent at anything.
Well, but that's the thing.
I mean, that's the government for you.
But that's exactly it. This is.
I mean, look at our government today. I mean, that's about as competent as a freaking it gets right there.
Yeah, but look at it. It's not just a mirror to our current government situation. But look, there's two things to consider in that. First and foremost, at the end of Return of the Jedi, George Lucas had no intention of making any other Star Wars films.
That's right.
So that was done. Okay, so there wasn't really any afterthought about how are things going to be run afterward. So now we have, of course, all these novels and other media out in between. Then we finally have the prequel series, and then after the prequel series, George Lucas famously said there will be no 7, 8, 9. And of course, we eventually got 7, 8, and 9. So when you look at it, and you look at the prequel series, because you can't discount the prequel series as much as we like to. The prequel series laid the roadmap out for why the Republic collapsed to begin with. Okay, and the problem is that this notion of the rebellion coming in and then putting that New Republic back into place under the same guidelines. It was a recipe for disaster waiting to happen if they're using the same roadmap as before. And I think you see a lot of that. Is that you see a lot of rebels with this great idea about overthrowing the government.
I can see what you're saying from sort of a purely political science point of view, but you had someone like Leia. She was no dummy. She knew about how governments should work. People they had military strategists who were heroes and smart, who were part of the rebellion. They should have been able to do better.
Well, when you look at the Galactic Empire, the Galactic Republic, the only difference is the word Empire and Republic. Let's be honest. I mean, except the Empire seems to be far more efficient with their governance. I mean, this is a problem when you have, and Adam can correct me on this, but I believe it's a 50,000 member body here, governmental body of 50,000 different planets. So, I mean, talk about expanding too large. Like we talked about Star Trek. I mean, that's impossible to manage efficiently, and just having
it was called the Galactic Senate, so
yeah, and all your and you have queens who are elected, which is just fucking weird. I mean, so somebody explain that to me. But you've got basically
teenage queens, by the way.
Exactly. You've got Jedi Knights being your door kickers. I mean, so how it didn't collapse sooner is really the question. It just needed the spark of Palpatine to ignite it in order to see the whole thing crumble around itself. I mean,
so let's talk about that Huddy's house palace thing at the center of the sound.
I was thinking about that too. I was curious about that too. That was all Hut design. Good call, son. Thank you very much.
And thank you for bringing us back to the topic.
Yes, exactly.
You're welcome. I was getting tired of this. I will say one thing though about The Last Jedi. Like, if you take out the Canto Bite scene, it's like watching the OJ speed chase.
The Bronco chase?
Yeah.
The I-5 Bronco chase, yeah. That's funny.
Oh, man.
I'm not sure what to take from that. But anyway, okay, let's do our round robin scores for this episode of The Mandalorian, and then we'll wind up with our final segment of the night. So let's start with Ross this time.
There was a lot to like about this episode. The Beskar staff was by far one of the best props I've seen in the show. The fight was excellent. The evaluation and training was good. The final battle was great. And of course the Thrawn call out. Please let us see Ezra. And
we're going to see something.
Sabine, where the hell is Sabine? Sabine and Ahsoka went off together to find Ezra. I need to know what happened to Sabine.
Yeah.
Okay.
I agree.
Duly noted. Oh, wait. Did you give us your number?
I said 2 thumbs up.
Oh, 2 thumbs up. Okay. Great. Sean.
No weird scoring stuff tonight.
Yeah, no. We didn't even get badges from Jason. Oh, no. That doesn't count for this one. Go ahead, Sean.
I'm like 9.5 on this. This was the only complaint I really have was that there wasn't. It was a little too short. I wanted to go a little bit more. That's really my only big complaint. I thought it was a great episode all the way around. I loved it. Rosario Dawson was so brilliant in this. It was amazing. It better not be the last time we see her. Seriously.
I hope so too.
If it follows like last season, she'll be back.
Good.
Yeah. Son.
Taking a drink. Okay, so the one thing that you guys haven't mentioned is the fact that yes, we will be seeing more of Ahsoka this season. We have to, because Miss builds empires of starships has a master that Ahsoka was trying to torture the name out of.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, Thrawn! We didn't even talk about Thrawn.
I mentioned Thrawn.
He did. Yeah, Ross did mention Thrawn. He got very giddy about it.
For good reason.
Well,
the guy was the biggest threat to the New Republic before Palpatine showed up.
Maybe we'll get Jorah Sabath too.
Not to be too punny about it, but how much do you think Gideon will play a part in all of this?
Do you think they're connected?
I insane. That was my first thought when she was trying to torture a name out of the lady.
I don't think
that it would be
anything about reporting to anybody, but it would be a very Thrawn thing, proxy.
See, I don't think Thrawn would be connected with Gideon.
Oh, why?
Because Thrawn was always about, like, Thrawn was never a bad guy. Like, he was the antagonist of the Zahn series, but he was very pragmatic in that he saw the order that the Empire brought to the galaxy.
Right.
Gideon is more of like a true believer.
An ideologue. He's an ideologue. You're right. I agree with you on that. I look at Thrawn the same way as I look at Tarkin, to be quite honest, in a similar vein. You're right. Very pragmatic. Very, very pragmatic.
Tarkin was a monster.
He was a monster, but Tarkin. What I mean, even going back, like when I watch him in the Clone Wars, it's like it's a pragmatic side to all of it. I don't see him being deeply dedicated to an ideology. Whereas you look at Gideon, this is ideologically driven by Gideon. This is.
Well, I think the fact that we've got two bad guys named in one series, they're going to be connected somehow.
I love the fact that I agree, but I do love the fact that you have on one side you've got Ahsoka trying to track down Thrawn, and on the other side you've got Clan Kreese in Bo-Katan trying to track down Gideon, and watching
Gideon trying to track down
the child,
Mando and the child.
Right. So you've got all these forces coming together here, and I think this is going to lead to some kind of special awesomeness here.
Don't forget all the other shit we've had in the past season and this season as well, like the shadowy figure at the beginning of this season,
right?
That was tailing Mando, and
yeah, of course.
Then you've got the witch lady who also disappeared from Tatooine. Instead of being dead. So
or even mostly dead.
Who knows? Maybe she was thrown into one of those clone vats. Who knows?
We'll see. Okay.
There are still so many threads.
Did we get
a score out
number
of me?
From you?
No.
A score out of you?
No,
yes.
You did not. This is definitely a 9.
A 9. Okay. Very good. Jason.
I'm giving it a white blade.
As opposed to a dark saber?
White blade would be for Ahsoka.
For Ahsoka, yeah.
She had
and it even sounds
blades,
like the her sabers.
I'd like to point out that Ahsoka, I think, is probably the best wielder of lightsabers I've ever seen. She's fucking amazing.
Yeah, she was pretty good.
That was one thing that kind of fell flat for me. The dual wielding lightsabers, it didn't have the same kind of heft and weight to it that I've seen in other lightsaber duels.
But so did you guys like at the end of the episode? They always have that concept art thing, right? Did you watch that?
I did.
Yeah. Her lightsabers in that concept art were Perry shaped like Dooku's. They weren't exactly mirrored, but they were built like that.
Yes, they were. I did notice that too.
No, they're the lightsabers she had from Rebels. Not Rebels.
Yeah,
no.
They didn't show up that way though.
They're a little on the curved side, and they actually I could have sworn I saw them on her hips like that as well. I thought they were the same way.
Time for a rewatch. Okay, Justin, your turn.
9.5.
Okay. All right. So my score would have been a 9.5, except for fucking Grogu, so it's a 9.
You'll be okay. You'll be okay.
You'll get over it. It'll grow on you.
It'll
grow. And then Carl's gonna be all about
I still think his name sounds like a frog.
It sounds like
Grogu.
Okay. We're gonna wind up for the week, and we are going to talk about what we've watched this week to wind up the episode. So let us start off with The Eyebrows of Doom. Ross, what did you watch this week?
Oh man, how to begin this one? I fell down another bit of a rabbit hole thanks to our wonderful contrarian.
Fell or were dragged?
Stop that, son.
Okay, yeah, kind of dragged into it as well.
Thrown.
Or yeah, that could describe too. So, as I've discussed before on previous shows, that Son and I have been exploring the wide, crazy, and sometimes sticky world of VTubers.
Sticky.
Yes, very. It gets. Believe me, it gets sticky. So VTubers, for the unaware, are individuals who either record videos or live stream using a digital avatar as their personification in the medium. As I've mentioned before, people like Project Melody, Mouse and others who have made rather big names for themselves and have shown great success. Melody and Iron Mouse, as a side note, with several other major VTubers, have formed their own talent agency and have made the move into mainstream, full professional productions. So congratulations to them. Yeah, it's called V Shoujo is the name of the company. They've got full. They're in big leagues now. They're not just independent.
The big sticking point here, the big pin for V Shoujo is that unlike the Asian companies where the character is wholly owned by the corporation, the characters for V Shoujo remain almost completely independent, other than being corporatized.
Right. So they still have full freedom of expression. So they can still be just as lewd and nasty and crass as they've always been, and welcoming of all of the NSFW fan art that their fans make of them. That hence the sticky part that I mentioned.
Indeed.
But today, this past week, last Monday, in fact, after a live stream, Sun introduced me to one of her newest additions, a streamer by the name of 020 Saria. This individual VTuber presents herself as an android, blank face with a digital readout for eyes, and I was endeared to this individual. Sun has fallen completely head over heels for her, and we've been in both her Twitch. She streams on Twitch daily. She's got her own Discord channel, and Sun and I have been completely enraptured by the character. And this week she completed a run of Haiti 2. If you're unfamiliar with Haiti, the original was about a rather curvaceous android with a camera positioned strategically right behind the backside. So every time the character bent over, it pow right in the face.
Butts.
Yes, booty, rocking everywhere. The sequel recently came out, and I shared it in the Discord, and she decided to stream it. So that has been our entire week.
All right, and Son, you were the accomplice in that one.
She was the instigator.
Indeed. So, Son, that means it's your turn.
Okay, I've been trying to find this video again, looking through my YouTube history, but what I found for What Are You Watching, I actually found on either Saturday or Sunday, and if I can't remember the name, I have to find the video, but it's basically a guy who tries to catalog and archive video game history. Ooh. And one of his recent videos was of the history of a very little known Nintendo DS game that was released in Japan for McDonald's, on behalf of McDonald's, because it was literally a training game for McDonald's employees in Japan. And this thing is basically so rare that they don't even know how many cartridges were ever made. And that if one does pop up, it usually goes for thousands of dollars.
Wow.
In fact, the video that I was watching, the auction that went up was 340,000 yen, which is about $3,200.
Damn.
And what was interesting is that this auction not only included the game, it also included one of the rarest Nintendo DS's, a matte black McDonald's logoed Nintendo DS.
Oh.
Yeah. So here I am watching this, and then it comes to, it gets to the part where they're trying to figure out how to access this game, because it comes with passwords and locks to make sure you're actually an employee and you have your own personal ID for accessing the game and all this kind of stuff. And for some strange reason, I spent the next 10 minutes just bawling, because there they were And there they did, cracking through the password and getting into the game, and then, I don't know. I guess maybe the archival of history is just something that gets to me, particularly in video games, because I watched another video of him going over a Domino's app for Japan that featured Hatsune Miku and had the exact same reaction. I guess it's just archiving technology, maybe. I don't know, but that's what got to me this past week.
All right, and let's hear from Sean P. O'Halloran.
Saw the Christmas Chronicles last night.
I thought of you. Okay, came up on my Netflix list, and I was like,
knew it.
I know it. I know who's watching this right now.
It's thoroughly. They're such stupidly simple films. They're thoroughly enjoyable. Though. I mean, they're just a joy. And Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn are they're
fun movies.
Kurt Russell is a great Santa Claus.
He is a great Santa Claus, and they do just a wonderful job of making this a great family film. So we had a good time with that. Most importantly, though, I watched Utopia, and oh my God, that fucking series! I heard, and Anthony Sion is pointing out that it was announced today Amazon will not be renewing it for a second season.
Correct.
I'm kind of glad, and it's like I would have been. I as much as I wanted that story to continue. That shit was dark. I mean, that was it was a difficult watch all the way through. And the trailers do not do it justice whatsoever. I think the failure in the show is marketing completely, because it is nothing like the trailers indicate it is. It's not. This is not about some nerds on this quest for this rare comic book. No, that's not what this is about. In fact, there's a disclaimer in the beginning of every single episode that they have to put out there because of what's going on, of course, with the pandemic in 2020, that this is a work of fiction, that this show has nothing to do with the current events, because it is such a mirror to what happens, especially if you're a QAnon conspiracy theorist. But it's a dark show. Would I recommend it? Yeah, because it was compelling enough that I watched it in one sitting. So yeah, I mean,
how many episodes?
I hate you.
It's 8 episodes, and it is it's worth watching.
Yeah, it's on my list. I hadn't gotten around to it
every
yet,
single time you recommend a show, I end up getting sucked into it, and
you will be sucked into it. Yeah. Dedicated day, because you're not going to want to stop watching. What's going to happen is you're going to get to the end of the first episode going, oh, this is so slow and so boring. And then the last 5 minutes of the episode, and you're like, holy shit, what just happened? And then that's the entire rest of the series from that point. So
great. What are those shows?
Yeah.
Okay, so who do we have next? Justin.
Let me unmute myself here. Let's see here. I watched the new Animaniacs reboot that come out.
That's so cute.
It was, it was one of the shows I watched whenever I was growing up. So I wanted to see how bad they fucked up, and actually, they did a really good job with this. Surprisingly, they did a surprisingly good job considering everything going on. I know there's some controversy going around about it, but you know what? Animaniacs is meta. They've always been like that. Suck it up, haters.
Practically the whole production team got back for it. How could they fuck it up?
Yeah, exactly.
Spielberg back.
Well, I would point you to seasons 1 and 2 of Star Trek: The Next Generation. Also got the band back together. Not so great.
That was took care of once a certain person was no longer involved in that aspect of production. I'm not going to mention names because I don't want to start that round of hate. Because, you know how people are.
Well,
They
it was
did
really
they?
Maurice Hurley, right? So once Maurice Hurley left and they brought in Michael Pillar to run the show, that's really when it took off.
And Hurley wasn't involved in TOS.
No, TNG. He's
Oh, yeah.
Well, but he said we got the band back together, but they didn't.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
Well,
that was basically.
We're talking about Roddenberry. Okay.
Right.
We're talking about
wait. So
Roddenberry.
they did get the band together, right? So they brought in DC Fontana, they brought in David Gerald, and a few
Gerald,
others.
yeah.
And then he brought in Hurley to run the room. And I mean, this is before like showrunners was like a thing, but he had the guy who was running the room was Maurice Hurley, and this is from the Chaos on the Bridge documentary.
Yeah.
I'm getting this from. You could tell that like they were really kind of like Fontana and Gerald were sort of took umbrage at a third person being brought in, an outsider being brought in to kind of run them, and that's the issues that started that first year. And then the Maislich or whatever his name was didn't help matters.
Yeah, he didn't help matters. Okay, so all right, Jason, I think it's your turn.
So I've been still watching random YouTube videos while the wife watches Hallmark Christmas movies.
Oh, that's right, your Hallmark.
Poor guy.
My TV
torture continues.
My TV's gone. It's out of my control. It's nothing but. Yeah, I mean, I love Christmas. I love the holidays. I hate Hallmark romance movies. God,
I'm
getting cavities.
My brother's wife loves Hallmark Christmas movies.
I mean,
funny because in some ways she's a very cynical person, not in a bad way, but when it comes to Hallmark Christmas movies, she becomes like she's a little girl. It's fun to watch.
I'm okay with the ones with Catherine Bell, but the other ones are just.
Hey, they are a steady source of income to a lot of actors who otherwise would be out of work.
Keep us working. Keep them working. That's right.
All right. Okay. So let's see. We've got everyone. Ross, you went. Sean, yes. Okay. So it's me. Okay. So I'm almost done with the second season of Titans, which, wow, it really went fast. Like really fast. Boy, what a dysfunctional family, but I am loving this show. I cannot wait for season 3. They just revealed the uniform for Starfire in season 3, and it is gorgeous.
And Red Hood.
And yeah, I didn't see that one yet, but I heard that
it's sleek. It's nice.
Is it okay? I'll have to look.
I am 3 episodes into season 2, and then, like when I say 3 episodes in, I mean like a few months ago I watched the first 3 episodes and didn't go any further. It was a little slow for me at that point. I loved the first season, but I guess nothing compelled me to jump back into it. So what you're saying is I need to jump back into this, is what you're telling me?
Yeah, once you get into the Terminator Deathstroke part of the story, it picks up and it's heavy. It's
cool.
Heavy.
Because I do love me my Deathstroke, so absolutely.
Yeah. No, you're right. The first couple of episodes of the season are a little out there, kind of run out of steam, but once they get into this Deathstroke part, it picks up and just keeps. It's like a runaway train. It's awesome. Cool. So I've got, I think, 2 episodes left to go for the season, and I hope not too long a wait for season 3 because I'm very excited. And George, I hope you're happy out there and that you're going to tune in yourself. From where
Titans did a lot of good things, but I have so many questions.
There's a lot of questions, especially if you know the Titans from the comics. There's like so many questions, but at the same time. I want to come back and learn more.
It's not just that. There's certain happen during the show that really don't make a lot of sense to me, and that leave a lot of questions like how are they going to deal with this rather significant event that they seem to have completely forgotten about?
How do they deal with the fact that everyone knows their goddamn secret identities? That's what I wonder.
Dick Grayson, not to spoil anything for you, Sean, I'm sorry. Dick Grayson is literally a fugitive.
Oh no, cool. Worse than a fugitive. Well, I don't want to spoil anything, but Worse than a fugitive. Worse than a fugitive.
I don't respond to anything, but I just did.
Okay, yeah.
I apologize.
He's got issues.
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert!
All right, but that actually wasn't the one I was going to be talking about this week. That was more of an update. The one I wanted to talk about this week is the second season of his Dark Materials, which they are now two episodes in. Third episode is coming up on Monday. They're on Monday nights, and I have to say, you may recall, I loved the first season, and the second season did not start off with a bang. To be honest, it was kind of slow, kind of all over the first, but picks up a lot in the second episode. Second episode redeems the first episode. But the first episode, I was like, where is this even going? And yeah, but it picks up in the second episode. So if the rest of the season is like the second episode, I'm with it, but it did have a kind of a rocky start for a second episode. So that was me for this week.
I'll check it out.
Yeah, so I don't know. Are any of you watching it or planning on watching it? It's on HBO.
Showed up on I was scrolling through HBO Max. I realized that I hadn't been watching this, and now that you've recommended it so highly, now I'm going to add it to my queue. So.
Yeah, no, it's really the first season was phenomenal, and well, there are only 2 episodes in, so and since the second one was so much better, I'm probably going to stick with it for the rest of the season. But the first episode, I was like, if this is what it's going to be like in the second season, I'm not super happy. But I am happy, so we'll see.
Is it better than the movie adaptation?
Oh, yeah, it's better than the movie adaptation.
Good to know.
It's better than the movie adaptation. A lot better, for sure. Okay, so that brings us to the end of our show this week. Thank you all so much for your wit and wisdom, as always. We will be back, of course, next week, December 4th, to talk about the latest episodes of The Mandalorian and what's that other show we're watching? Star Trek Discovery, and see whatever new controversies. Thank you. We have to disentangle in the coming week. So, are we sticking around for a Florida Man segment this week?
Florida Man.
Sounds like we are. So, for those of you who are going to stick with us for our short Florida Man sequence after the show, please do stick around. For those of you who must go, have a great week. And we are now in the official Happy Holiday season. So happy holidays to all of you. Next week, please bring pictures of your Christmas trees. I want to see them all. Or your Star Trek Christmas sweaters. I don't own any, but whatever. And great. So thank you for joining us. We'll be back next week on The Real Super Geeks.
Awesome.
Sign off.
Copyright.
It's only the first few seconds.
It doesn't take much.
It really doesn't.
I know. That's why I only did the first few seconds.
YouTube algorithms are assholes. Unforgiving, uncompromising, uncaring assholes.
Carlos, what did you get as far as a new computer?
And rights lawyers are just as bad.
What's that, John?
What did you get as far as a new computer is concerned? Because
I got a Mac Mini. I got one of the new M1 Apple Silicon chip Mac Minis, which it's awesome.
Oh yeah,
he looks on point. He's no longer Carlos McStutter.
And now I'm talking.
I mean, that was it. Pretty much exactly, yeah.
Well, thank you. I'm glad I got it set up. I'm getting a new monitor next week. Oh no, 2 weeks. Unfortunately, I have to wait that long. But great deal on one from Costco, from their Samsung Black Friday event.
Yeah, those widescreen monitors are all the craze. I pointed Joe Diaz, the one for his new setup.
The funny thing was, I actually ordered one from Amazon that, for some reason, it was supposed to have arrived on Wednesday. It didn't show up. They said, "Oh, it's going to be late." Then they finally said, "Oh, it looks like it's been lost or stolen. So would you like your money back?" I'm like, "Sure." And they're like, "Would you like to reorder one?" And then I was like, then I got this thing from Costco in my email, and I checked it out, and they had this one, which was actually, it was a Samsung as opposed to an LG, and I think Samsung's better. And it was a 34-inch. The other one was 29. It was also a ultra widescreen, but This one is like a super ultra wide screen. It's like 3,800 pixels by 1440 pixels or something like that. Anyway, it's really wide and bigger, and it only cost $50 more than the one that Amazon would have brought me. So, and that was only a 29-inch. So,
you'll have all that viewing space for all of that popcorn.
For being able to manage our weekly podcast better.
I got my iPhone 12 Pro Max came today. That's
of course it did. You always get the Pro Max.
iPhone.
Yeah,
throwing all that money.
I don't care. Like no, I used to be every 2 years. I'm just doing it every year, and it's only because I need it to be reliable for work. Is really what it comes down to.
Okay. So. Whatever you need to get through the day, Sean.
Florida man.
It's time for Florida man.
Did you see the story where the Florida man wrestles dog from Gator's mouth?
Yeah.
Florida man.
Yep.
As a Florida man, I know everyone else is like going nuts over it because like, oh, you wrestled again.
That's just too.
This was a 4-foot gator.
Yeah, it was a baby gator.
Yeah, like he was like nothing. Like it was like everyone's like, oh, what? I'm like,
yeah, I saw the pictures. I was like, that's just a tiny.
The dog was.
Yeah, but the tiny gator can do a lot of damage if he wants to.
Well, sure, but it's small enough that a human can pry it.
That dog was almost as big as the gator.
It was a 3-month-old puppy too.
Like I said, the dog was almost as big as that gator.
Oh, Ross, by the way, thank you for sending the link to the Trek Core picture of the Discovery nacelles.
Yeah.
And a new lighting setup. See,
I definitely have something to look for in my rewatch.
Did the puppy survive?
Yes.
Yes.
There you go. All right, on that happy note, I'm gonna let you guys go.
All right, Sean. Talk to you later.
Wait, don't go yet, Sean. Oh.
Sorry. What were you going to ask him?
No, this Florida man story kind of involves Sean.
Oh, well, pretend he's still here.
Palmer police makes pantsless pot arrest a Florida man.
Damn it.
Oh, too funny.
Florida man.
Florida man invents robot that inserts and removes contact lenses.
That's what she said. Florida man.
Here's another one. Here's another one tied to Sean. Florida man loses pants and boxers in wild Wawa fight.
What? Wawa, the grocery store?
The convenience store.
What happened?
Wawa I have to tell you that
in Wawa.
The South has the best grocery store names ever. Winn-Dixie, Wawa,
Wawa's from Jersey.
Piggly Wiggly.
Piggly Wiggly. That beats them all. Down to the Piggly Wiggly.
Florida man got $1.9 million in PPP money. Used to buy Mercedes. Got caught.
Here's my favorite one. Florida man defrosts Thanksgiving turkey in swimming pool.
Sounds about right.
Florida man.
Thank you.
If it's with the sailing pools, he can defrost it and brine it all at the same time.
I've got a very positive Florida man, but I'll save that for the last one.
Yeah, I'm just surprised the Florida man hasn't cooked it in the hot tub yet.
Okay, here we go. Florida man shoot his own windshield at another driver because he flashed his gun.
God.
Jesus.
And apparently he had his own dash cam on recording it.
Oh, wow.
What a dumbass.
Florida man.
I mean, that is the epitome of Florida man. Catch yourself committing a crime.
Here's
with your own equipment.
Jet.
Yeah.
I don't know if I should even say this one.
Say it.
Florida man, youth pastor, charged with over 408 counts of child porn.
Florida man arrested for DUI in Florida Highway Patrol parking lot.
Florida man.
Some of these Florida man stories I have to tell you are just depressing. I'm skipping them.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's skip the ones involving kids.
Might as well do this one now then.
Okay.
Florida man becomes first person with Down syndrome to finish Ironman triathlon.
Oh, that's a
Said
good
that one.
story.
Florida man.
Said that one last week.
Oh, yes, that's right. I remember that one from last week.
Okay, got it sorted by new now. So okay.
Okay.
Well, remember, even in the sorting, they will update those articles, and then the Florida Man Twitter will repost them.
I'm on
they've been
Florida Man
updated.
Reddit, not Florida Man Twitter.
Oh, I'm just Googling Florida man.
That's what
Okay,
I
Florida
did,
man
too.
so-
on LSD attacked Disney World guard had unexpected
Oh, that
strength.
was last week.
That was posted 2 days ago.
Yeah, it's an update, but it was
No, you're thinking of the one where the guy started misquoting a Disney movie.
No, this was a guy. This was a guy who a week ago attacked a Disney security guard at Animal Kingdom.
Okay.
Yeah, but that happens a lot in Florida.
Yeah, maybe it just happens.
Okay, here we go.
We're both right, Ross.
Maine woman tried to kill Florida man to convince his wife to run away with her.
Good God.
I love it.
Jerry.
I love it.
Jerry.
Is that even relevant anymore?
Yes.
Yes.
it is. But Steve is the only one who actually got the license to have fights on his show.
Yeah. That just turned into the one
Okay.
watch.
So here's one that isn't necessarily a Florida Man story, but was retweeted by the Florida Man Twitter account. Santa Claus is immune to COVID-19, says Dr. Fauci.
That is true.
Bum, 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 bum.
Everybody knows that.
Okay. Florida man arrested for tranquilizing and sexually assaulting alligators.
Where was he for the rescue?
Ooh, that was a well-chosen piece of music there.
All right, here you go. Topless drunk Florida woman creates community chaos in Naples neighborhood.
Ooh.
Let me see if I can get context.
Florida woman.
Topless Florida woman. Caitlin Young, 51, arrested around 8 p.m. after neighbor says she came onto her property and was yelling at her, according to the sheriff's department. Neighbor told deputies Young was yelling at her, saying racial slurs, tried to slur her. The neighbor then pepper sprayed Young, who was found with red, swollen eyes by deputies. She was also found unclothed on her top half. Apparently, this is a regular thing in that neighborhood.
Thank you.
This is a regular thing in that neighborhood, apparently.
Wow, here's something. Florida man, inspired by axe murder in swamp, composes classical album.
There are so many things wrong in that one sentence.
It's either really, really wrong or really, really right.
Yeah.
I can't.
Did we? Is this the week we break Justin?
Well, hey, this might do it. This next one might do it. Florida woman tries to smuggle synthetic weed in vagina into jail.
Whoa. Wow, you did break him. That's incredible.
Everybody gets one.
I'm finding all the good Florida woman ones this week.
Apparently, you have to search separately for Florida woman.
Oh wow.
Oh, I love my home state.
Here's another one for Sean. Florida woman, Florida man will have to wait longer to take off shirts without asking them to, without anyone asking them to. I butchered that one, but yeah.
Okay, here's one I don't understand. I mean, I guess I understand it, maybe. Florida man arrested for hitting his dog after it chased a squirrel while on a walk.
Yeah, some states really go hard on the animal abuse stuff.
Florida woman harasses her love rival by posting online sex ad titled "Fresh Meth Tonight."
I was just looking at that one.
Ooh, boy.
Oh God, I'm trying so hard not to lose it. That one almost.
Watch Florida man casually swim next to a large shark off South Beach.
I feel like we told this one before, but I'm not sure.
Florida man.
Florida man
sharks are going to be a recurring thing.
Oh yeah, I actually saw a really great. Did you see that video, that viral video of the dude off the coast of Florida? He's just swimming, on top of the, at the surface, near the surface of the water, and beneath him and around him is this hammerhead shark that is just like sizing him up, and the guy's totally clueless. It's shot with a drone. He's totally clueless that there's this hammerhead shark like checking him out. Nothing happened. He finally decided to go after, more challenging.
So what was yours? What was yours, Carlos?
Oh, this one was Florida man pulls gun on driver who told him he had a small penis. Police.
Yeah, we covered that one last week. Yep.
Florida woman who made.
I guess that makes sense for why Trump moved down there, right?
Florida woman who made 2-year-old son smoke marijuana to improve his sleep arrested.
THC vape.
I wonder if it worked. Did it work?
I don't know.
I mean, whiskey works. I have no idea how whiskey works. I have proof of it. But
it works. Whiskey does work. I think.
So Florida man shoots son-in-law as a birthday present.
That's very considerate, I guess.
I'm not sure how real this one is because it takes me to a weird gambling website. Florida man caught playing Fortnite in the bathtub, arrested.
That could be dangerous, man.
I think that's a fake headline because, like I said, the link took me to 1v1.lol.
.lol is a top-level domain?
I suppose.
You might want to sanitize your computer after that one.
Florida woman busted for self-care outside of 7-Eleven.
Wow, I guess that's what the kids are calling it these days.
Doesn't that headline continue that she was arrested for doing the exact same thing
in front of a Popeyes?
God,
that's one we've covered before.
Must be some damn good chicken.
Okay, here's one that's less about the Florida man and more about just what a dumb headline it is because it like tells you nothing. Florida man arrested after causing disturbance on 16th Street. That's it. That's all the story. He caused disturbance on 16th Street.
Florida man.
Angry little Florida man beats the pants off drunk at Wawa.
Florida man.
Yeah, that was the same as the Wawa store. Unless this is happening at multiple Wawas.
It's probably multiple Wawas.
It could be. This is Florida we're talking about.
Yeah.
I once had someone tell me that a Wawa sandwich would be better than a Publix sandwich.
I don't know. Public sandwiches are pretty good.
They are the best.
Why would you want a sandwich that's been out in public?
Nope.
Public, son.
Damn it. I knew where that joke was going. I knew where it was going, and I still fell for it.
Okay, here's a good one. Florida man's pants fall down mid-convenience store fist fight. Fight goes on. Oh, that's also Wawa.
I think that's the same one.
It is, but they buried the lead in the other one because this is the best part. It's like pants go down, fight goes on. Those other Wawa stories completely buried the lead.
Are you sure that one wasn't Sean too?
I don't know. This one says a pair of Florida men were filmed mid-brawl at a Wawa in South Florida, and the video was going viral on social media.
Oh, the video's available. Hold on.
Yeah, I have the video.
You gotta post that in chat. You know you have to post that in chat.
Here's the wholesome one, though. I think we might have talked about it. Florida man known as Salvage Santa repairs bikes, toys.
Oh yeah, that was from 2 weeks ago.
We did that. Feel good Florida man or something.
Yeah, feel good. That sounds disgusting. I'm feel good, Florida man.
Oh,
Florida man
Jason's
arrested
broken.
for throwing cookie at girlfriend.
Jason's
Shocking.
broken.
Must have
Okay,
been some cookie.
what is freaking you out, Jason?
He's watching the video of the pantsless fight.
Oh, the pantsless fight. Yeah.
Are we done? Are we done broadcasting?
No, we're still live.
No,
dude.
we're still going.
When we're done, so we can watch this video.
Oh, you don't want to show the folks at home?
That's okay. I mean, I can show a YouTube video. That's okay.
I guess.
And we're
wow. Okay.
All right. Here, you want me to clear off Twitch?
No. Wait. This is kind of heartwarming and kind of important and a complete misuse of the police, but still. Homeless man passes call the police note at McDonald's. Florida man deputy buys him new shoes.
Aww.
So apparently the homeless man passed a note in the McDonald's to someone to say, call the police, I need to speak with an officer. For the sole fact to tell the officer that he needed a new pair of shoes because the holes in his current shoes made his feet hurt. Again, a complete misuse of the police, but the deputy went above and beyond to actually get the guy new shoes.
Oh, well, yeah, that's nice.
There's a fight.
Should we shut off Twitch first? Hold on. Twitch.
Oh, wow. Yep, there's a lot of...
Oh, the shoes are gone, too.
Okay, I cleared Twitch. We're good.
On Twitch.
Yeah, Paul, move, bro. Move.
Fight goes
Let them
on.
boys do what they gotta do. Take him to the sky.
Take him to the
Chicken box.
sky.
You got to send me this
Bro, pull up
video.
your pants, fam.
Don't forget
Doing
your
the stomp
pants.
move. No. Wow, 2 in the morning. You ain't got no fun.
Wawa,
This
2 in the morning.
Hey,
This ain't even a fight. This ain't even a fight.
I think they're making a love
Y'all boys get
connection.
from the register so I can pay.
Oh my god.
There's love in the room.
They're gonna get through with this fight. They're gonna get through with this
Wild,
fight and
fam.
then go back to the
Ain't
hotel
tripping on
room.
it, ain't it? It's 2 in the morning. Just let go. That's all you gotta do, fam.
Super Geeks After Dark.
If y'all wanted to end, y'all both just let go. Y'all both dap up, call it quits. Y'all got a good one in. I like it.
See,
He ain't
they
gonna do shit. Y'all
they
boys
should
just
take Yoda's
breathe
advice.
them out,
Y'all
motherfucker,
should
each other.
just let go.
Let go, you should.
Somebody's
Don't look like it. Whoop, there it goes.
Wow, that is so much fun.
There goes the shirt.
I think I better.
Oh, there goes. Yeah.